right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our special call Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee, chaired by myself, Commissioner Ted Terry. We are joined by committee member and presiding officer, Commissioner Shakira Johnson, District 4, and District 2 Commissioner Michelle Longspears will be joining us shortly, and we might have a few joining us on the Zoom, so DCTV, just give us a wave when anyone else joins. All right, so we do have mostly budget discussions scheduled for today. We have two agenda items that we might knock out first. Commissioner, I think they're pretty straightforward. So let's just go ahead and start with our meeting minutes from the special call February 18th FAB meeting. That's agenda item 2026-0407. And if those are all in order, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve item 0407.
All right, I'll second. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. All right, let's go to the two agenda items. Item 0258, this is renewal contract number 2000484, 2000485, and then same numbers 486. Guns, ammunition, and accessories. First renewal option of 5 options to renew for use by Department of Police Services and Marshal's Office. Contract consists of purchasing through the competitively led SWCs for guns, ammunition, and accessories. This request seeks to ratify previously provided contract term increase and also requests to exercise the first renewal option through January 7th, 2027, awarded to Gulf States Distributors Incorporated, Dana Safety Supply Incorporated, and Precision Delta Corporation. Total amount not to exceed $150,000. And Chief Patrick, come on down. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, this is the first renewal. Sorry, this is the first renewal of our contract. As you know, in law enforcement, we have to have guns and ammo. We are in a good place as far as our firearms right now, but we're working on upgrading those at a later date. But this is predominantly for our ammunition, for training, for deployment, and the different vendors in order to accomplish all of the things we need and the different types of ammo. We also use it in our criminal investigations for our ballistic testing. When we're testing firearms, we have to have ammo to test those firearms for comparison and things of that nature as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for that description. And I see also the marshal is here, and that's also, you'll be using this contract as well. Yes. Okay, very good. All right, Commissioner Johnson, any questions, comments?
I did just have one question. So if this is for the first renewal through January 7th, 2027. So is the expectation to put this back out to bid?
Not necessarily for this contract, no, ma'am.
Okay, understood. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. All right, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item ending in 0258.
All right, I will second. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next we have item 0293. This is change order number 1 to contract number 200472, Prosecutor Case Management Software Services, sole source for use by the Office of the Solicitor General. This contract consists of the provision of the Prosecutor by Carpel PBK case management system, including installation, companion services, and annual subscription. The request seeks to increase the contract funds for the purposes of data extraction to the newly integrated PBK system awarded to Carpel Computer Systems Incorporated, doing business as Carpel Solutions, amount not to exceed $32,000. And I believe Madam Solicitor mentioned this when she went over her budget proposal. I think this is just the upgraded system. So, Zach, do you have any more information on this by any chance?
I do not. I believe this is something that we've been working with the solicitor's office on for the past number of months.
Okay.
So I believe the funding is in place, and this is something we would support.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson. Oh, yes, go ahead, Director Butler. Thank you.
Sorry, just adding some additional information.
Yes.
It is in support of their current efforts. It's actually an increase because they're migrating data, and so the $32,000 is to assist in migrating that data.
Okay, to the
new system. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Commissioner Johnson, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. All right. You good to move forward with this?
I
And if we
am.
need more information, we can get it before, I guess, tomorrow, potentially.
Yes.
Okay. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to approve item ending in 0293.
All right. I will second. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Okay, great. All right, so let's go back up to our budget discussion. So today we'll be sort of discussing the final budget recommendations for recommendation to the full board tomorrow's BOC meeting. We did want to hear just from the remaining departments that haven't had a chance to present. So we'll start with our clerk of the Superior Court, Ms. Deborah DeBerry. Welcome. And
Good
you
morning.
have a PowerPoint also? Or is it all right here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got it right here in front of us?
But if you prefer one, I can pull it up, but.
No worries, we got it right here.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, yeah, hit the button. Yeah.
Oh, good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
I'm Deborah DeBerry, Clerk of Superior Court. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. And the only thing outside of what has been recommended and moved on are 4 positions in the amount of $304,027. These 4 positions, we did not, when the rest of Superior Court rolled in their positions, rolled it into their operating budgets because they were out of, because these were grant-funded positions for the 2 additional divisions that we got coming out of COVID. They were grant-funded through last year. Superior Court kept all of the funding for that, but also all the other agencies rolled over their positions. We could have, and we were asked, are you not going to roll over yours for these 2 existing divisions that we're supporting? But we had enough money in our grant fund. I didn't want to waste it, and then because we wanted to use it. So we decided not to roll over those positions until we exhausted everything out of the grant fund, which is out now. As of March 1st, those funds are finished. The 2 divisions still exist, and that is why we need those 4 positions in that amount rolled over into our operating budget.
All right, yes, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes. Could you state the amount again, the total amount?
$304,027.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I see you provided us with lots of stats.
Yeah, since I haven't been over with them in a while, I thought I would share with you our activities and our budget as well as our revenue numbers. And I'm happy to take any questions around any of this.
Okay, sure.
But that was the main purpose is for those 4 positions.
Okay.
Outside of that, we're not asking for anything else.
Okay. All right. Zach, TJ, do y'all have any background on the previously funded positions and where they're at in the budget now?
These were previously grant-funded positions.
Correct.
Right. So my understanding is that these were positions that were funded by a grant. The grant has gone away?
Correct.
Okay.
The grant actually ended in 2020. This is actually at the end of 2023. Then there was I believe it was $784,000 that was given to Superior Court. Typically, we all split that, but we did not this time. So Superior Court kept that, And so the DA, myself, sheriff, the other offices, we did not get any of that. But I did have enough. So at that time, most of the other, I believe all of the other agencies rolled over their, the additional staff that was funded out of the grant fund because of Divisions 11 and 12, which we still have coming out of COVID. That was the purpose of that grant, but we're still running 2 additional divisions, and therefore that's why I need these same positions. And I did not roll it over when it probably was easier, no questions, just put them in operating. But we had the money to pay out of the grant fund, and we couldn't use those funds for anything else. So that's why I didn't roll them over at that time.
Okay. Okay. And on the finance and accounting spreadsheet, you have the total county revenue and then total county and agencies revenue line items, the very last page. So you're projecting 56,580,000 total revenue collected
Correct.
this year?
Yeah,
Okay.
and for 2025, it was,
It's 49.7 million, looks like, or that was projected, actually.
it was 50,793,000.
Okay. And then in 2024, it was 56, 2023 was 61, 2022 is 46, so it does fluctuate.
It does.
Quite a
The biggest fluctuation right now, as Zach knows all too well, has to do with the real estate market.
Oh,
So even though the real estate market is not where it should be, and we watch those numbers daily, they're not, they're still low. They have come up some. We're hitting more $150,000, $175,000 days, where that used to be a low mark for us, but that's not consistent yet.
okay. And this is the real estate, well, I guess all the real estate.
All of real
line
estate,
items.
correct.
Okay.
And of course, we did over $1 million just in transaction fees on e-file.
On e-file, okay.
And fines and fees went up to over $3 million.
Okay.
And we started a new initiative. I now do fingerprinting. So that's an additional revenue stream. I don't have the figures for that yet.
Yeah.
And we haven't done an official rollout, so we are doing some other agency fingerprinting. My initial purpose for getting it was because we are part of APHIS, and we have to have fingerprint for adoptions. So, but now that we're registered, we have our own ORI number for fingerprint. We can do it for any agency, but I have not sent it out because we wanted to get very comfortable with it, using it. So, but that will get bigger.
Okay. TJ, so Madam Clerk is projecting 12.6 million in total county revenue, and then 56.5 for total county and agencies. Or is that the 56 is?
Is the total?
Okay. Are those your projections as well for revenue?
I would have to verify that and have to double check what
Okay.
we have in the budget, but
Okay. And I bring that up, Madam Clerk, because, just in terms of the budget, we need to kind of project what we think we're going to get in, obviously with expenditures. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud if we.
And I don't doubt, depending on 56, we could meet if we are like this and hope that the real estate market picks up. I would think, though, at the very least, we would be at 51 million if you want to be, if we are going to be super conservative around that.
Okay, go ahead, Zach.
Just as I look at this and make sure I'm reading this right, Madam Clerk, but in 2023, it looks like the actual was 61.5.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe the actual for 2025 is 50 million approximately?
Probably 51, a little over 51,
Okay.
but yeah.
In that 2-year period, that will still be about, what, 17% decline?
I don't think we'll have a 17% decline between 25 and 26.
Right.
Right.
I'm just looking at the
Correct.
23 to 20.
23 to 25 was significant.
Yeah.
That's when interest rates went up in 23, the end of 2022, 23, and that tanked the real estate market.
And we believe it's going to hold or maybe go up a little bit between
Correct.
25 and 26.
Okay. And Madam Clerk, and actually Commissioner Johnson, you wrote it down, what was 314?
304,000.
304,000. Is that prorated for when the grant ends, or is that just an annual cost?
That's an annual cost.
Okay, all right, so TJ, I guess we'll
And
take 2 months off
can
that.
we prorate that to take out January, February? Oh, they already took it out. Okay. It's already been taken out.
Okay, so that 304 is the prorated?
Correct.
Gotcha, okay.
That's for the entire year, correct?
That's for the entire year, but what they should be funding us for the positions will come for, budget adoption.
I see,
which is
okay.
from March to December. So the 305 was the full amount, but they were already paid 2 months already out of, we'll need the funding for.
Okay, so you still need it in the budget,
Yeah.
acknowledged, but the grant funding, okay, so they're, all right. Okay. All right, so, TJ, is it possible, and we might want to take a recess at some point in the meeting just to kind of check some of these numbers, but is it possible to kind of hone in on, not like necessarily now, unless you have it?
Well, I just wanted to ask a question. So when it says end agency, so is that the other jurisdictions within DeKalb?
Correct.
So not all of this is county revenue.
Because we do have to pay out to 13 cities.
Oh, okay, gotcha, okay. Okay, so we're really interested in the 12.6 million. Gotcha, okay. Okay, so is that what you have projected?
I'm looking now. I believe it's pretty close, so it's not far off.
Okay.
You know, typically, we look at the actuals from previous years and project from that, and then we do more of a true up around mid-year.
Okay. Okay, so if anything, it is closer to because we had 14 million in 2023, then 9 million in 2024. And then 2025, you'd projected 11.1, but maybe it was a little higher.
It is higher.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's 16.
But yeah, it's gonna be,
It was 16. Okay, that's the highest.
tangible, it's gonna be, 7,447,000, and for transfers, it's gonna be 6 million. And then for the fines and fees, it's gonna be about 3.
So it's about 16.
Yeah, so I'll give her the final figure when I run the report.
Okay.
Because remember, we don't get the full revenue until the end of January, when we actually.
Correct.
We get the full year. But what it looks like based on the projection that the county will get all of them in about 17, between 16 and 17 million. That's intangible transfer and the fines and fees.
Okay. Would y'all, so just so we can keep the meeting moving, would y'all mind kind of giving us sort of the exact amount for revenue from 2025 for all those?
The total revenue would be 50 million.
I mean, just for the county revenue.
Oh, just for the county?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that? It's between 16 and 17 million.
Okay.
that comes straight here.
Okay. I think we're at the phase where we need to
Need to know exactly.
we need to sharpen the pencil.
Okay.
So if we can maybe just, so if it's okay, Commissioner Johnson, Madam Clerk,
Add those three numbers.
and Madam Clerk, we'll be here for like about an hour, for at least another, hour, maybe hour and a half. So would you mind kind of running those exact numbers? And then that way TJ can
Yes.
just check with his estimates and see if we're close or wrong.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right.
Yep.
All right, well, and we'll have you come back just to clarify that. Okay. All right, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Okay, so TJ, I think at this point, we wanted you just to cover anything else that the committees didn't get a chance to talk about before today. There was mention in the CEO's budget, the voter outreach. So if you could just kind of briefly cover that, and then any other departmental requests that, we thought were important to highlight would be great to hear now. And Zach and TJ can do it if y'all want. Okay. Okay. All right, so you want to start with voter and elections? Or do you want to just go through the whole thing?
Right, and maybe going through the letter.
And cover
would
those
be-
departments, too.
Yeah, I think that would be of value, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
At the outset, and we'll let TJ talk us through it, but what you're going to see is a budget amendment that does a couple of key things, and not the least of which, and quite frankly, the most important, I think, is really dials in an investment on our health and human services type activities. So you're going to see a significant investment in housing, taking care of the unhoused and underhoused. You're going to see investments in healthcare in the form of contributions to MedCura, as well as a contribution that is already identified for Mosaic. Each of those are ensuring that we provide ongoing available access to healthcare needs, and ensuring that it's in the right place at the right time. So I think those are significant contributions.
Okay. And let's just, since we're going to go through these kind of in buckets, so you brought up healthcare access. So we have the MedCura Health mobile healthcare unit, and then the Mosaic Health to expand healthcare access. Commissioner Johnson, any questions, comments on that area?
Just a comment. I think that that's very critical for our community right now with the rollbacks and the Affordable Care Act subsidies. I think that is going to hit our community very hard. So I'm happy to see expanded coverage in this area.
Okay. And Zach, the establish a new point of contact, does that just mean there's going to be someone coordinating it? Like just coordinating
Yes.
that mobile unit with the CEO's office, or would it be would it be human services?
Right, I believe it's going to be a facility.
A facility? Okay. Well, what about the MedCura is for a mobile unit. I imagine Mosaic is for the
Right,
facility,
right.
but for the mobile
Right,
unit.
and so, yes, establishing, MedCura will identify, how that, the point of contact, and we'll be working, of course, with our office.
Okay. Okay, so that'll be coordinated through the CEO's office? Okay, gotcha.
I do have another question on that.
Yes.
Is there a time frame on when, especially the McCure with the mobility, that seems like a new operation, so any time frame on when that would actually get operational?
I don't have a time frame as I sit here, but by tomorrow, I'll be able to provide some
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
greater detail.
Is there,
Because there may, right,
is,
yes,
you think, you already know what I'm going to say?
I think so. And so we're going to have those conversations to see if
Okay. Okay,
those
so,
vehicles are available.
all right, so the 1.4 million for MedCura Health, they might purchase a new unit, but we might also have some units
Right.
potentially available.
Yes, yes, that's a true statement.
And I guess, will there be an opportunity to just, and Commissioner Messiah is here, Chair of PECS, so I imagine we'd want to get updates on that program in PECS
Right, so.
as it rolls out.
Right, I think, right, each of our healthcare related initiatives, and actually a lot of the stuff that we'll be talking about in the budget amendment will go to PECS, but the healthcare related items as well as the housing related we're going to look forward to maybe scheduling in quarterly reports or something.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, I think, so, I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I think I agree with Commissioner Johnson that with the ending of the Affordable Health Care Act subsidies, either people will just have to pay more or they'll just lose their health insurance. And so now they're going to be going to Grady or a federally qualified health clinic, which Medcura is, or Mosaic, which is basically the, safety net, low to no insurance access.
And it all interrelates, Mr. Chair, because lack of access makes people wait longer, makes them end up in the ER.
And then we're paying that.
We're paying that, and then also
Yep.
the wall time associated with offloading personnel from ambulances at the ER, because you have people who otherwise wouldn't be there if they were
Right.
able to provide.
And then we have to pay more for
access.
ambulance capacity
Yeah.
to deal
It's
with the
all
wall time.
interrelated. Yep.
And we know how much the ambulance contract costs.
Yes.
We know.
Yes, Commissioner Messiah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Just very briefly, wanted to also share that at the State of Grady last week, the CEO and Mr. Vallow, and also Dr. Ferguson, a couple of others of us were in attendance, but we heard from the president of Grady essentially that they are operating in a deficit of $135 million. In large part to some of the federal funding that has been lost. So as we are looking to provide, dollars to, Medcure and Mosaic Health and needing to supplement, dollars to make sure that the constituents of DeKalb County get health care, I do want to make sure that we keep that in consideration as well, as I know there will be an ask from Grady and some need for some additional support because albeit they are doing the best they can, my understanding is they're hanging on by a string. So just as a consideration as well.
Okay.
With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. So let's just stay on top of that, Zach, because I know part of our Grady contract is to expand a third clinic. But of course,
Yes.
the question becomes: you build a clinic, can you run it
Can you
and
operate
operate it? So, Madam Chair, Pex, let's stay on that and invite Grady to come in and tell us what they're going to do with that shortfall, and hopefully they're on track with their third clinic they promised us in the contract. It's in the contract. Okay. All right. So that's the healthcare access. You did skip over the. Do you want to come back to housing affordability and work source, or do you want to whatever order you want to take it in, Zach?
Okay, so we'll just make this conversational, and the housing affordability.
Okay.
Many of, you, I believe all of you have had an opportunity to have a conversation with Dr. Alan Ferguson, who is our Director of Housing, or
Yes.
our Chief Housing Officer. And what we're looking to do is, and this is related directly, quite frankly, all of these items are directly related to a millage rate increase, $0.5 mil, is establish an annual allocation that will be between $12 and $15 million ultimately for the housing to implement a comprehensive strategy aimed at dealing with or addressing housing affordability, issues related to the unhoused, whether, and there's a whole host of items. And the long-term strategy will be to issue bonds that will help not only in building affordable housing, also managing programs to assist a person, whether it's with down payment, whether it's taking them from living in cars into transitional housing, whether it's from day center, which is something that we were talking about, where we take the unhoused, provide them a certain level of transitional services that will ultimately put them from the emergency need to long-term strategy. And no one can tell it better than Dr. Ferguson, so I'd like to
Yes.
turn it over to Doc.
Yes, thank you, Zach. And yeah, you were in the corner here, and I said, "Come on in, come on in." And we have been joined by Commissioner Robert Patrick, District 1. Thank you for being here. So yes, Chief Housing Officer Ferguson, if you don't mind, give us. You've already given that presentation in PECS, but give us just kind of the high level of kind of what anything Zach missed or anything you want to emphasize, please.
Sure, absolutely, and thank you. commissioners, for allowing me this opportunity. So yes, what we're trying to do is really advance and open up housing opportunity, throughout the county. Excuse me. And when we talk about housing opportunity, we're not just talking about, the production and the preservation of housing, but we're also talking about, how do we serve our most vulnerable residents? And that means homelessness and the underhoused. So already there are a number of different initiatives and considerations, that we're contemplating, and we're trying to move forward in a programmatic way. I think that, the county taking this step, not only sends a message, to our residents, but also it provides a very strong signal and message to the state, which is, the state of Georgia. We all know that Governor Kemp has proposed, allocating $50 million, towards homelessness efforts this year. And, taking this step, this initiative, to approve the budget and support these housing initiatives actually positions us well to really compete, for those funds, to augment our efforts and really kind of expand and extend our efforts, serving the homeless community and the underhoused. So I think, it's really kind of coming together, for lack of a better description, in this perfect storm, if you will. We've been able to, really kind of align and start building a really strong, network of, collaborative partners, coalescing with various, members of the community, in various aspects, but, as well as with private funders, philanthropy, really kind of everyone is energized and motivated to see how they can support DeKalb advance its housing efforts, during this time. So, I've gone over the, various programs, with, all of you and in detail, but we're looking at, doing things to not only increase housing production, but to preserve the quality, affordable workforce housing that we have, looking to advance programs that really enable and support home ownership, as well as protect our legacy residents through owner-occupied rehab initiatives, incorporating some service components in terms of, providing our residents access to information regarding heiress property, weatherization, preservation of their homes per se. And then again, I can't really emphasize enough how we're really trying to build this strong ecosystem here and strengthen the current ecosystem here in DeKalb County. So you're going to see us really engaged in capacity building, working with our nonprofit and in some cases our for-profit partners to make sure that they have capacity to address DeKalb County's housing needs, not only now, but in the future as we continue to grow and develop.
Absolutely. And just two quick kind of high-level questions, and we'll open up to commissioners here. Director Ferguson, so could you just speak briefly about this annual investment and how it will be leveraged for greater economic development? Can you give us some of those numbers of what we would be investing and how that would be leveraged for even more investment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at the, the heart of what we do when we start talking about housing, you're really talking about places and spaces. And so we're going to use the resources of the housing investment bond to really unlock other sources of capital, both, private and philanthropic investment, as well as, other, state and federal government tools to really amplify, the system. So we're, currently projecting when it's all said and done, we'll issue, bonds that will generate somewhere in the neighborhood of around $155 million in proceeds over the next couple of years. And with that, and injecting that
10 years?
I'm sorry?
Is it 10 years?
Well, the total span of the program that we're projecting is an 8 to 10 year.
8 to 10, okay.
Type of effort. But over those 8 to 10 years, we expect that well over $1 billion in investment will be leveraged from that $155 million in capital that we're going to inject into the system. And we think that we'll produce really produce and preserve well over 10,000 units when it's all said and done. So it's, seems like a big number on the front end, but it's actually going to amplify and allow us to increase investment and unlock investment in the county, really almost tenfold when it's all said and done.
Okay. And actually just remind me, so, TJ, when you look at this investment from the public side, creating $1 billion in new economic development, that does have future tax revenue implications as well, because some of these might just be, they'll be added to the tax rolls in essence, where otherwise they might not have been built, or there might have not have been that investment. So is that something that you're taking into account, not for this budget, but for future budgets?
Right. We haven't done an analysis of that sort, but we could definitely look at that.
Okay, I think that'd be good. And then just in terms of sort of the budget approval for today, Director Ferguson and Zach, so we're not getting into the detailed line item spending of these, because we'd like to know that we want to go in this direction, and then we'd want to actually go forward with the housing bond. But I guess later on, as the program rolls out, the commissioners, you'll come back with projects and initiatives that the commissioners will talk about in PECs, probably budget allocation. So there'll be more conversation about how the money gets spent.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So even when we talk about, programmatic uses and allocations, my plan is that we would, conduct a number of work sessions, focusing on different stakeholder groups, but definitely open to the public and our residents as well, to chime in, provide their opinions and feedback on the programmatic efforts that we're proposing, the different guidelines and parameters, to make sure that we're bringing things to the marketplace, for lack of a better description, that can really be used, leveraged, and advanced in the market. And so as we come back to the Board of Commissioners, when we seek approval for an intergovernmental agreement with the Housing Authority, to essentially enable the issuance, of the bonds going forward, all of that information that we gather, from these stakeholder groups, and revising, our program guidelines, we're going to provide that in a presentation, to PEC's committee, but then as well as to the Board of Commissioners, so everybody be fully informed and understand, what we want to do, the rationale behind it, and understand that there's been some community conversation that's gone into, what we're proposing.
Great, thank you for that. Commissioner Johnson, questions, comments?
Thank you, Dr. Ferguson, and thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. I will note that I think it is highly time for us to be putting an investment into this housing and helping the homelessness out of the general fund. I know that's something that I was trying to champion for last year as well, so I'm really excited to see this. This is bigger than what I envisioned we'd be able to tackle to begin with, so I'm happy about this. I think it's time, our county services were typically, police, roads, drainage, those type of things, but our community is wanting us to get into these arenas as well, and I think this is showing that we're listening to them, we're paying attention to what's happening in the world around us, and we're putting our money where our mouth is. I'm happy and excited to see how this program moves forward, and looking forward to the continued conversation as this gets online. Thank you.
Thank you.
I yield.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Masai.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. I just want to say again, in echoing of my colleague here, the investment into housing, but not on a generalized way, actually a very prescriptive and specific way, segregating the types of folks that are unhoused, because there's a number of different needs in housing specifications that they need just based on their circumstances and situations, so that we are really investing specifically. And so you had mentioned the road to home, and as many know, the DeKalb delegation, the CEO of the Board of Commissioners and staff were in Washington, most recently just getting back, most of us yesterday. But to that point, there were federal dollars in and around housing and HUD, and that's one of the areas that, if anything, has been more strengthened through this administration versus being reduced. Additionally, with Road to Home, that is a specific program that is, they didn't call it, of course, Road to Home. That's our thing. That's our DeKalb thing here. Exactly. I'm a trademark it. But, just making sure that not only we're providing access to folks that are in motels, hotels, but also that are living in the cars and on their street in parked on the street, and just providing a safety net and services for them as well. So I commend you and all of the work, the administration, and all the work as a Board of Commissioners that we're doing here to make sure we're investing in our folks. With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. And we are joined by our other committee member, Commissioner Michelle Long-Spears. Welcome. We'll give you a minute just to get your things in order, but we're going over the memo, and we're talking about the housing and affordability section, which I know you'll be interested in. And actually, I believe that's the PEX committee right there. Y'all three are PEX this year? Okay, so this is mostly about y'all, because this PEX is going to be the housing committee this year, it sounds like, Director Ferguson. So Commissioner Patrick and then Commissioner Long-Spears.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Appreciate that. I know we talked about this individually, but just to hear you say it again, how does this impact the county's bond funding ability? Does this?
Yeah, no. So this, fortunately, I think the county has been managed conservatively, maybe in some cases a little bit too conservatively, but from my understanding and conversations with our CFO, Diane McNabb, we have plenty of bonding capacity in the county to address the county's needs. Upwards, I forget the exact numbers she told me, but we have billions of dollars available in bonding capacity.
Okay. And I guess as it becomes appropriate through the PEX committee or even FAB, conversations on housing types, square footages, all the kind of details that we would love to hear information about, you'll be coming back to us with that, correct?
Yes, absolutely. But that will also be a conversation as a part of the zoning rewrite. The conversations that I've had with our Planning and Sustainability Department and Director Njoku is that rather than approach some of these issues on a kind of a piecemeal basis, incorporating them into the zoning rewrite. So I'm more than happy to kind of circulate some preliminary ideas we've had in regards to possible modifications of the cottage court home ordinance that can allow for some different housing types and things of that nature. And like I said, there's kind of providing a framework for us to address issues around, minimum home size, increasing, housing variety, and really, allowing a more expansive menu, if you will, of housing choices in DeKalb County. So.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Ferguson. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks.
Yep, absolutely. And I just want to reemphasize what Commissioner Patrick was talking about because, and Zach knows this, yes, the analysis I think that PFM had done maybe 2 years ago is that the county's bonding capacity is actually quite substantial based on our tax base. And it might be counterintuitive, borrow money, right, from from now and future tax base based on a millage rate. But that investment is something that, but for that investment from the public side, those economic development projects would not happen. And because if they do not happen, then nothing happens. There's not housing units, there's not construction jobs, there's not an increase in the digest, which supports the overall budget of all the county operations. So it is kind of a miracle, actually, leveraging, a small amount of money, in theory, for a large investment that will pay off. I mean, once you build a project, it's there, it's in the ground for 30, 40 years. I mean, I guess some of these housing projects are, 40-year lifespans minimum?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
30, in terms of, the length of affordability, they can expand, from 30, to 40 years.
Okay. And TG, I just was reminding myself that the Urban 3 land revenue analysis that's in the budget document later, that study is designed to get you the answer of how these projects and that work we're doing in housing and also zoning will impact future revenues, which I know you'll be interested in. So hopefully that's something, a way we can kind of really hone in on the data to articulate what this investment means in the long run for the county's tax base. Commissioner Patrick, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just one other thing to add. I hope that transit ends up being a consideration with any kind of housing options we have in the future. It's great to have more people living in DeKalb, but we need to find a way to get them from home to school, to the grocery store, work, and back without
Yes.
Yeah.
making 285 more of a parking lot than it already is.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, and we had great conversations in D.C. with the Build America Bureau on Monday, where we talked about the transit-oriented development and how we're updating our transit master plan.
Yes.
And we have our housing plan, and we have our housing bond. This is all coming together. And actually, when I mentioned our housing investment effort here, or when we were up there, they kind of perked up because that's what they want to see: dedicated funding sources that will go to support these TODs. Without it, some of those check boxes and their, grants don't get checked.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we get knocked down the list. But they were very interested to hear how we'd move forward with the housing bond. To Commissioner Patrick's point, does that support, affordable housing or housing development at transit stations? Awesome. Okay, Commissioner Long-Spears, go right ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Ferguson, we'll get a little cozy here since we'll be sharing a mic. I hope that's okay. First, my apologies for being late. If you guys have already discussed some of my questions, then so be it. We can talk about it offline. But to begin with, thank you very much for bringing forward the housing initiatives that you have. And then also just from reading the amendment and previous conversations about the desire to establish an actual housing office. I think that is necessary for you as our leader and for us as the leaders of the county to really move this work forward. So I'm in full support of that. Second is, my understanding is that in this amendment document, plus in a previous document, there was the recommendation to consider this half-mil rate increase that we will vote on in July. And so our budget is due before March 1st. So tomorrow we're scheduled to actually vote on our budget. Certainly you'll need that funding for the half-mil, because it's stated in this memo, to really lift up and then move forward with the housing work. And so if we vote on the budget as is today, and then we advance to July and we don't vote, that half-mil does not pass, how will that impact your operations this year moving forward?
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a great question. So if you vote on this budget right now, essentially it kind of secures funding for 2026. But what it does, and if the millage rate increase does not pass, it's going to really restrain and restrict everything, all the plans that we have kind of moving forward. So there are some programmatic initiatives that is, absolutely essential that we get access, to the funding capacity in order to issue the bonds, in order to advance. If we don't have that, then we have no certainty of repayment and we can't issue the bonds. So it's going to dramatically reduce what we can do in the housing space. And it's just going to, quite frankly, delay and exacerbate some of the challenges that we have with housing affordability. It limits our ability and our capacity to really lean in and do everything that we want to do in serving the homelessness and underhoused population. It's going to dramatically contract the resources that we'll have available to preserve existing affordable housing, as well as it's going to dramatically reduce how much input and how much influence we have in terms of creating new affordable workforce housing within the county, because we won't be able to help unlock capital to energize production in the county. So not that it won't ever happen, but it's just going to delay, and the more we delay, the less output we're going to be able to generate, going forward. Because costs keep going up, land costs keep going up. There's a cliff that's coming in the construction labor market that all developers are going to have to address. And all of these factors are going to affect the cost of delivering housing in the long run.
So as a follow-up to that, and thank you for your thoroughness in your response, so with the operating budget that we're looking to pass tomorrow, how would the development of this new housing office look like if we don't pass the mill rate? I don't have a magic ball. I don't know what this board is going to decide to do in July, which is 4 months from now. But what is in the operating budget right now, separate from that, can you do between the execution of the budget on March 1st through the end of the year? So do you have the money in the budget to prop up the office with the required personnel that you need?
Maybe I can try.
Yeah, Zach, if you want to answer that, go ahead.
So here's how I would see it, Commissioner Long-Spears. Once the board adopts the budget, and it is based on the adoption of a millage rate increase, we would plan spending based on what we presented, these things that have been identified. Any bond resolution would come to the board as a separate item, and that's what would really commit the board to finding, or the governing authority to allocating funds in out years to pay back the bonds, because that'd be a separate obligation. If we moved forward and implemented this budget based on a $500,000 increase and did not get the $500,000 increase, then what that would mean is these programs would be a one-year program, and the funds would have to come from about $22 million worth, would come out of fund balance, out of reserves, and we would not have the ability to sustain that, right? So we would not have an annual allocation. A lot of the funds that would be allocated to housing would be to leverage that $155 million. That would not happen without this millage rate increase. But so we would learn come in July or so, if the board did not approve the millage rate increase, we would essentially go back to spending levels of 2025. And these programs that are slated to move forward in 27 and beyond would not be able to be sustained. That make sense?
It does. And so I just would like to comment that if I choose to support this budget tomorrow, that will not commit me to support the millage rate increase
It's a separate
in July. It is a separate vote. I don't even know if it's legal to do that, to try to push us into a corner and say, because everything you just said is really kind of going to be determined if we all approve, or we get the 4 votes, at least for the millage rate increase. And so if it doesn't happen, you did mention reserves. There's a possibility of being able to access some of the reserves so that Dr. Ferguson can move forward with his housing programs?
Yes, the intent is when the board adopts the budget, we will begin implementing the budget as presented. If we do not get a millage rate increase, we will not be able to sustain that level of spending in out years. So we would literally go to the reserves to balance the budget.
Understood.
In 2026.
Okay, well, that gives me some confidence, sir, that your programming will move forward. That's really what I was getting to. Okay, my next question is, so in 2026, you're saying the investment of $12 million for the housing fund, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's just prorated because it wouldn't start until April 1, or?
Yes.
And then 15 million after that? Okay.
It's prorated because it wouldn't start until that time frame, but also in terms of the timing of the rollout of the programs. We've got some programmatic expenditures that we need to incur to really kind of build out the framework for everything we're trying to launch, and that includes everything from systems and working on integration, data integration, but as well as making sure that we have the right capacity in various departments to support this efforts. And I would also, be remiss if I didn't mention that just the basic infrastructure around just application process, making sure that the programs that we want to offer, we're, instituting, some good application processes that we can, have a good process, especially when we're talking about serving residents through owner-occupied rehab and down payment assistance and things of that nature. So a lot of that effort, that front-end work needs to take place before we actually, kind of flip the switch and open up for programs. And so those programs will be rolled out, as they're ready towards the latter part of this year and into 2027. So,
when will the Affordable Housing Fund kickoff be active? I know there's obviously a setup phase. So would it be April 1st, May, or you just haven't gotten there yet?
quite haven't gotten. Yeah, we quite haven't gotten there yet, but I am anticipating that around the same time when the completion of the comprehensive housing plan is due, which is around October, November timeframe, we'll also have this governance structure set up because in my conversations, with the Board of Commissioners, we talked about having a governance structure where proposals regarding housing could be, vetted, especially when we're talking about some of the grant dollars that we want to provide for high-impact housing outcome types of initiatives. And I'm anticipating it'll coincide, at that particular point in time. So I would say fourth quarter of this year is more realistic because I really want to make sure we've got a really strong governance structure in place. But in the meantime, there are initiatives that are currently underway that fit within the parameters of what we proposed within the Affordable Housing Fund that we intend to pursue. And those are really around some of the efforts around homelessness and serving the underhoused.
Okay.
And TJ, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the original request, I think, was for the $15 million.
It was.
And just as we were going through this and building the budget, we were trying to reduce how much we were taking from the reserves. So that's why in the first year we thought we could, do $12 million. It's going to take some time to issue the bonds. We don't know exactly what that debt service is going to be this year. The initial request included about $10 million of debt service and then $5 million that was kind of programmatic. So we don't think we'll need that $10 million this year, all $10 million. So it might be something that, once those bonds are adopted, we'll know exactly how much that requirement is for this year and future years.
Okay, so if we're still requesting $12 million for 2026, but we don't really kick it off until Q4, why $12 million? Would it be like $3.5 million? Or is it because you're gonna, you see what I mean? So if you take $15 million, divide it by 4, it would not be $12 million.
So let me just clarify. We still need access to dollars to build out that infrastructure and framework. At the same time, while we're doing that, there are initiatives. There are initiatives that are currently underway and currently being planned and pursued that specifically address homelessness and underhoused that we want to advance. So with that, having been said, I think we're going to use maybe not all of the $12 million this year, but definitely a significant amount of funds. And then the funds that we don't use this year will actually roll over into 2027, so that we can begin addressing continue addressing needs for the county.
Okay, so the funds will roll over, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, my last question is, you kind of threw me the softball there, and you might have just answered my question. So on page, it's not numbered, so I guess page 4 or 5 of the amendment under Housing 07300, these are the only 2 items, I believe, in the entire amendment that doesn't have a dollar amount. There's one more, creation of a community inclusion manager. But most of them actually have a dollar amount associated with the proposed amendment by department. So one is housing investment bond and 2 is unhoused assistance. Is there a specific financial request for either of those items to prop them up, to set them up?
TJ, you want to answer that?
Yes, so I think this relates back to what I was saying previously, that we don't know exactly what the debt service will be this year. And basically, whatever the debt service is, that's what will be dedicated for the the housing investment bonds. And then the rest will be programmatic, and those will be, whatever programs Dr. Ferguson brings forward.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for responding to my questions. I yield back.
Great questions, Commissioner Long-Spears. And TJ and Director Ferguson, maybe just elucidate a little bit more about why the bond is key, because what you're talking about is some ongoing annual programs, but with the debt service, we're paying for the debt service over many years, but we want to have more of the money up front. So you'll probably see larger projects in 2027, 2028, because we're getting the money up front, basically. Just explain that concept of some of it's annual, but most of it is to get things going earlier in that 8 to 10 year period.
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the bulk of the resources, what we're anticipating, will probably get deployed between 2027 and call it 2028, maybe even to 2029, and the type of structure of the bond that we've been contemplating is what's called a drawdown structure. So as we receive applications, as we approve projects moving through the process, we'll be able to quantify that number, and then we'll issue bonds. The CFO's office will initiate a bond issuance, accordingly to fund those projects as we go. So there'll be a ramp up, if you will, in terms of the funding as well as the debt service.
Great. And we have Commissioner Davis Johnson on the Zoom. Commissioner Davis Johnson, we're going over the housing and affordability section. So if you have any questions or comments, we can recognize you.
Thank you. Commissioner Terry, and I did have my hand up, but I don't know who's looking at it. But
we got you.
Yeah, in any event, one of the things that I found at this past NACO convention is that housing is on the top of everyone's mind, and that it's happening everywhere. So I just appreciate your comments, Chair, about the bonds. So we know we have to make tough choices because housing is a significant problem. I think that Commissioner Terry, Messiah, and Commissioner Long-Spears has worked on tirelessly since you all have been here. So, Dr. Ferguson, I'd like to say thank you for giving us a roadmap as to how we can go forth to resolve some of the issues that we're having in DeKalb County. So I just wanted to say that, and I appreciate all of y'all's efforts. And I think that this is where we need to be as a county, recognizing the tough decisions that we have to make because it's a nationwide problem. But as always, DeKalb County takes the lead. So thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Okay, great. All right, so I think we're good on housing and affordability section. Director Ferguson, so we'll excuse you.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Any other, Commissioner Patrick, anything else?
One quick question, Mr.
Go for
Chair. The governance structure that you guys are talking about, and then the notion of drawing down as needed, that will not create an environment for negative arbitrage as we've had to deal with in the past?
Absolutely. Absolutely not. And that's something that we're definitely very mindful of. So, it'll be in likelihood chunks. It may be a $50 million, 50 million,
Right.
50, something like that.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Messiah, go ahead.
Thank you. Just very briefly, and in terms of what the cost of the debt services is, I know we were saying that we were uncertain about that. However, I saw in and around housing, I saw something about $5 million. And so is that an estimate, or we just don't know as it relates to this bond what the debt services will be at this point?
So I think the initial debt service estimates were based on a flat repayment and issuing all the bonds at once.
Okay.
So that was going to be a $10 million debt service. But as Mr. Williams just said, we might not do everything all at once. So
Gotcha.
we're going to, refine that number.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'll get back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Zach, Workforce and Economic Development's next.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. And you see under Workforce and Economic Development, we are also looking for an investment of an additional $1.9 million from the general fund into Workforce DeKalb, and that's going to go into two key buckets. One is the Summer Youth Program, which is something that we have done in the
Yes.
past, and that has been tremendously successful. And a new thing, which is $1.3 million to expand our operations in training. Something that we have found is that the contributions by the federal government have not kept pace with the need.
Okay.
And in order, and it's really, hopefully you see the theme here, to help in addressing the needs of our residents, besides housing, job training is a critical factor in terms of allowing people to be more self-supporting and self-sufficient. So this $1.3 million will be supporting a program which will have entrepreneurship, agriculture training. I'm just reading some of the key things: EMT Academy, dental assistance, business development. So we have a number of providers that will be working with WorkSource DeKalb to provide various training programs, 12 and 14-week training programs, with the anticipation of training, over 300 residents in a variety of skills. So we're going to be quite excited because I think in many instances, some of the clients are going to come from the programs that Dr. Ferguson is talking about.
Right,
Will be
yeah.
involved, whether it's in the day center, whether it's into transitional housing. And we will assist people in getting on the road, not only to home, but to self-sufficiency. So that's what this is about.
So we're going to be providing some fish
We're
and
gonna be-
teaching them to fish.
That's it. That's it. And helping them build some fishing ponds. all the
And
things.
build some more fish in the pond and,
that's
and
it.
then learn how to turn fish into sushi.
Yeah,
and
all that.
then
All that.
we can go on and on that metaphor. Okay, Commissioner Johnston.
Yes, I did just have one brief question. So just to clarify, the 1.3 million, those are existing training courses that we are expanding, or we are bringing in some new programs as well?
I think it's going to be an expansion on what we are doing, but without the same federal constraints and regulations.
Because it's from general
Because it's
fund.
from general fund, right. So
Right.
the job training will be similar in that it's job training, but the eligibility criteria may be greatly expanded.
Which means we can actually train more individuals.
Absolutely.
And
That's
then
the
we're
key.
also, we'll be partnering with some of our local partners to get some of this training done, or is it all through WorkSource?
Right, so I'm looking at Grady Hospital, Morehouse School of Medicine, Goodwill
Perfect.
Industries, Georgia Sheet Merit Metal, a number of agencies.
Very good. Okay, thank you. I
Thank you.
yield.
Okay, Commissioner Longspires.
Thank you very much, Chair Terry. My question relates to Leadership DeKalb. We had voted last year on $100,000 per year for 3 years for Leadership DeKalb. Is that included somewhere in the budget? And if yes, can you point me to it?
Yes, it'd be non-departmental. That's in the regular budget because you approved that.
Okay,
already.
so it is
It's already
included?
baked in.
Okay, so it's not appearing, I just didn't see it, I perhaps just missed it, but you're confirming it's there? Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Workforce and Economic Development looks good to me. Very thoughtful. Thank you.
All right.
Yield back.
And just one quick question on the Summer Youth Employment Program. So was that 600,000, was that basically what we did last year? Or is this expanding that
It's
program?
expanding the program, I think,
Okay.
50% expansion or something like that.
Close to it. So last year it was 800,000, so this is an additional 600,000.
An
So
additional 600 on
1.4
top of-
total.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. All right, commissioners, any other commissioner comments, questions on this item or line item? Okay, all right, so we covered healthcare access. And Zach, you can go whatever order you want, if you just want to go in order.
Right, so we'll just keep going. Some of these additional general fund investments, $1 million for we're characterizing Arts Council. That will be the function that will be under the Parks Department, but we're investing $1 million in arts. Voter outreach and education. There's been a number of conversations on the need to ensure that people clearly understand how to access and ultimately exercise their right to vote. So we're looking to contribute funds to assist that in happening. $1 million to establish a tire recycling program, and that's something that we're very excited about. And what we're been working on is establishing an entire ecosystem around addressing illegal dumping of tires and such. And what this would specifically speak to is a partnership where arrangement for the ability to create crumb rubber locally. So partnering with an agency to provide a location for tires to go. The expansion of the Lifeline Animal Project, or the contract with Lifeline, something that we have been working diligently on. I think we made a presentation recently in ERPS. But what this speaks to is significantly expanding our spay and neuter activities, as well as a number of other initiatives, all aimed at keeping pets at home to the extent possible. Of course, lowering the unwanted pregnancies of animals, but providing food and other activities for people to keep their pets at home. Funding of 2 paralegal positions to facilitate court dog cases. One paralegal would belong in the county attorney's office. The other would report to, I believe, the director of public safety. It'd be under Director Fulham, whether it's in animal care or directly reporting to the director. Food security initiatives. This is keeping what we have been doing going, but also creating a study where we take a look at not only what we're doing with Kashi and what we've historically done with the food distributions, but how, when, and where can we implement food pantries, stationary locations that people can come and visit. So we intend to overlay existing data of food deserts and work that is being done. So I would envision kind of a needs assessment, gaps analysis being applied to what we know in the space of food insecurity and finding out what's the best strategy to address that. Then the creation of the community inclusion manager within the CEO's office. And that's a position really to assist the county in having proactive outreach and interface with our various immigrant communities that we have simply not done. We have not been deliberate about that as an institution, which is somewhat amazing when you think about it, when you know how diverse DeKalb County is. But this position we would envision assisting not only in many instances helping them grow businesses, have access to different information, partner with the county, and make doing business with the county. So we see a whole area that would be developed and created through that position.
Okay, let's pause there. And Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I did have a question. Excuse me, on the food security portion, are we also going to be looking at, when we're doing the study and looking at the landscape, existing food pantries that are in the community and how we can support them?
Absolutely, because there's some great ones.
Yeah, there really are some good ones that I think if we could uplift them, that would be easier on the county resources, but also have a great impact
Absolutely.
on them. And also on the community inclusion manager, I think that is a really good idea. That's actually something we've been toying with in District 4. We haven't gone public with it, but even for our office, having our own kind of community group where we know, because we are such a diverse community, how can we directly impact and have those conversations with those community groups within District 4? So I think this is expanding that. And it's always good synergy when administration's having a conversation that they didn't know we were also having.
Right.
So I'm excited to see this as well.
Excellent point, and I would envision this position working very closely with your offices. because in many instances you have events and coordinate and plan with various community organizations, and this person would be able to be, working alongside and assisting.
Understood. I'm looking forward to that. I yield. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. Commissioner Michelle Long-Spears.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. I do have a couple questions on the additional general fund investments. The first relates to the funding for 2 paralegal positions to facilitate court dog cases. I just want to make sure I communicate this. I did send it through email as well. And thank you so much, Interim County Attorney, for considering this position within the law department. My question, though, pertained more to our public safety director. I want to call you still Chief Fulham, but Director Fulham. I sent an email yesterday, and it really was a result of a meeting with Madam Solicitor last week. And so she was talking about the challenges that her office had to deal with in terms of animal cruelty investigations. So she stated that her office is doing majority of those investigations, but she felt that it should actually be the police department to do those investigations. And so the email I sent to you guys yesterday after receiving the amendment document from TJ was suggesting that we have a paralegal in the law department, because that's what he suggests and makes the most sense. And perhaps instead of a court dog coordinator under police, instead make that a animal investigator. How do you feel about that?
And Chief Patrick just stepped out, so I'm going to ask him to come and speak directly about that part of it. And just so you know, I've taken some time to try to understand this. Yes, this is a very complex situation, and I did hear that conversation that you had last week, and so I understood that. But what I did understand from the animal services perspective is that some of this information had to be gathered by them. Obviously, they're the ones who are taking custody of the dogs. And so what I thought was having that paralegal, not as the only solution, but having that paralegal who could assist the legal department would aid in the process. And so I would like for Chief Patrick, when he comes, to speak directly to what you were asking about, that part that they play when it comes to these animals that have been taken into custody due to an abuse and how they would interact.
Okay.
So we can give just a moment.
Sure. All right. So, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to offer this as one point of clarification. The investigations, as I understood our esteemed Solicitor General that she was referring to, were tied to the prosecution of people by her office. And there may be a narrow focus on the portion she was speaking about, but she mentioned having her investigator do more than just the animal cases, and the animal cases that she referred to would have been those cases where she's prosecuting a person who has neglected or mistreated an animal. But the underlying animal would be dealt with in the work that we do in the way of cost of care petitions, other motions to deal with how long we're keeping the animal and those kinds of dynamics. So there's a separation, and I just wanted to clarify that point. I trust the police department's investigative work would be in support of the solicitor's prosecution of the human being. But the other part that I believe our director was speaking to, they would have someone to work closely with us on all of the data that's necessary before we could go and file the civil actions to work with the animal that's in the shelter and keeping up with those dynamics as well. And I think that's been a big part of what you were looking for.
Yes,
some
absolutely.
Consistent reporting and monitoring so that you regularly have an understanding of what this is doing to our shelter overall with how long animals are there and the like.
Well, thank you for that clarification. Ultimately, we are shooting for not having these court-held dogs stuck in our shelter for years and going and cage crazy, and then they get out and then they euthanize them because you can't adopt them out. So if you're suggesting then that you've got a paralegal with the law department, and Hello, Chief Patrick. I don't mean to spring this on you. And then there is a coordinator who may or may not be a paralegal with the police department. Then you guys can work together on monitoring the data, the processing. But then that takes me to another question, is that animal services is not under police. It's under the public safety director. Lifeline is a subcontractor. So how are we going to make this work? And I don't really see, another point you said, is it's either or, as you also alluded to. So perhaps it's paralegal, coordinator, and an investigator, but they're just, I know we don't necessarily have to create a position, but there has to be some coordination with our enforcement folks, and then also Lifeline as well, or it's going to fail, right?
Yes. And Commissioner, if I can, to add another layer to this as well, because animal services is for the entire county. So it's not only DeKalb PD, it's all of the police departments. We
Right.
just had an incident recently in Brookhaven that you may be aware of.
Everybody is. It made national news.
And so they decided not to pursue it, as I recall, but that was Brookhaven Police that decided that. So that's that other layer. So it's not only DeKalb County Police, they would only be a percentage, obviously probably a large percentage of it, but we also have to have that connection between those other law enforcement agencies. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay. And Chief Patrick, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, ma'am, unless you have any questions.
Okay, so I guess ultimately, my request then is that we've got the paralegal with law, which he has agreed to, and it's written in here already. The coordinator under police, I would like to add an investigator to investigate these animal crimes that have occurred, and then also challenge you, as I did the judges last week, to please try to coordinate with all law enforcement in our county to aggressively deal with these abuse, neglect, and abandonment situations with our animals. And of course, we're happy to support in any possible way. All right, thank you very much. My next question on those items is the really more of a comment, the expanded services through the Lifeline Animal Project. I just want to thank you, Mr. Williams, and TJ as well, for working so hard with the previous public safety director, Director Lumpkin, on the tiered approach to that. And I am super thrilled that you all did recommend that Tier 1. And so I am hoping that the commissioners, when we go to approve the budget, will also support that Tier 1 service increase so that we can more effectively ensure a high quality of life for our furry friends. Thank you so much. Yield back.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. And just two quick follow-ups, so I'll make sure we capture what you were interested in. So we're good on the paralegals and how they're being distributed, but you were wanting just to understand, and we can get more information, I think, Zach, on how the DeKalb County Police Department and capacity in the animal cruelty case investigator area can support the Solicitor General's investigatory capacity. So is that something that y'all could potentially come back to maybe ERPS?
Yeah,
to just
we're bringing it back to ERPS.
sort of explain sort of how that strategy will work. And, you know, I know that's sort of, we're approving the DeKalb County Police Department budget, which I think has opportunity for programs to be sort of brought forward once the budget's approved, I imagine. So could we just plan to get more information about how the investigator capacity will look?
I think maybe we'll come back, maybe a joint presentation, quite frankly, between animal care, the solicitor, and the police department, and just show how it flows, who does what.
Okay.
That may be helpful.
And Mr. Chair, a quick clarification.
Yes.
I'm not expecting that investigator role in this budget. I just want our public safety director and police chief to strongly consider that in the future. So perhaps it's a budget amendment we can bring forward in Q2 after there's an opportunity to discuss it and how it would be most effective and how it could integrate with all of the layered entities involved in animal well-being in our community. Thank you so much.
Okay. And then you mentioned Tier 1 services. So the $780,000 is an additional for the Lifeline contract for that Tier 1 services. Is that right?
It is, and I
Okay.
believe that contract is before the board as we speak.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right, any commissioners? Commissioner Messiah, go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So there's a couple of things. Just before I go into just a couple of questions I do have a suggestion as it relates to some of the concerns for Commissioner Long Spears, as we have the animal officers that actually will come to the scene when there is a violation and concern. They typically do the investigations, and those are the ones that are usually there showing up at court. As it relates to seeing the process through from fruition, from essentially the seizing of the animals, and then any court cases, maybe an advocate. So we have victims' rights advocates within the court system. We have them here in DeKalb County, particularly when we have someone that's been violated. There is an advocate, a court-appointed sometimes advocate, but there's an advocate that usually will stand in conjunction with the family, help the family, communicate about court dates, help to coordinate and speak on behalf of. So maybe that may be something that's helpful, having the investigating part with the officers that are usually the ones showing up, and being able to have a designated advocate that is there to show up to go to court and to coordinate the communication and speak on behalf of. That's something that I've suggested before, and maybe something to consider now, because they even have an opportunity sometimes to speak and be a witness as to some of what you spoke to, as to the animals being in the cages for a while, and then what happens, the court has to go through due diligence and proper notice, and a lot of times, they're reset for notice requirements and different challenges. However, if there's someone that can, speak to the delays and how that negatively impacts, the animals to where they can't then be adopted out, and to be able to testify on that behalf, then that might be helpful to communicating that as well. So just a consideration in terms of not having an outside investigator, but the officers that are there, allow them to investigate, but having an advocate that could also communicate with, the paralegal if need be, and offer legal support where necessary. Just a quick suggestion there.
Okay. Attorney Phillips, want to add?
I just wanted to offer one quick thing that I hope helps. This budget discussion I follow and understand, and I thank you too, Commissioner Spears, for trying to make sure everyone has what they need to accomplish the goals you're helping identify. This is a comprehensive approach to addressing these issues that involves all of our cities, the police agencies, various prosecutorial entities. With all due respect to our police chief, I hope he won't mind me saying this, the police typically limit their involvement to state charges with animals. When there are ordinance charges with animals, we deal with animal control. I will stop there and say that getting you information through the assistance of this paralegal, working with all of our partners diligently to make sure that we're working collaboratively, will probably show some improvement. We hope so. And I heard you loud and clear, but we're not going to answer all the questions today. We'll work to get you more answers. I just didn't want to continue pushing without acknowledging that we're at the top of a rabbit hole that involves everybody. And we'll work to clear it up.
Okay. And I think I heard CEO Williams say that we wanted to maybe kind of have a little joint session where we kind of go through sort of the whole system. So central staff, let's start coordinating that, and if we need to do kind of a joint committee meeting or committee of the whole, maybe, I don't know. In the near future, we can start to uncover that rabbit hole. So everyone's aware of the process, and then the goal obviously would be how can we support making the process more efficient, more just, and more fair. Commissioner Long Spears.
Thank you. Just as a brief follow-up to Commissioner Messiah, and thank you, sir, very much for your comments, is that there has been discussions in the past of creating a program similar to like Guardian Ad Litem, but for animals. And I think that's what you were kind of getting at. So perhaps when we pull together this joint meeting, that could be a discussion topic, is creating a new program there.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, and I appreciate everybody's care and concern for our furry friends. Yield back.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Messiah?
Yes, and so then also I wanted to briefly just speak on the community inclusion manager, and thank you so much, Commissioner Johnson, for touching on that and understanding, trying to get some understanding as to how that would align in our level of access to individual and COO, saying that you imagine them working closely with the Board of Commissioners, because I had questions in terms of the organizational chart, if you will, and structure of that inclusion manager, and essentially who specifically they would be answering to, to ascertain sort of our access to that individual as well. Again, just speaking on the need for that individual to make sure they have, close relationship and communications with the Board of Commissioners. And then, it's great to have a inclusion manager, someone that's dedicated to address these issues. However, that individual needs support as well. So in order to address the actual issues that folks are, that are coming to them need, for instance, from a legal standpoint. So, we'll get down to law, and as we're creating additional positions in terms of paralegal and some of these other cases, making sure that they're sufficiently outfitted with the additional acts that we're placing on them. But with that being said, there's a lot of immigration, concerns and issues there, but just making sure they have support to be able to properly answer without putting the county at any particular risk in terms of providing legal advice, because a lot of them need specific, advice as it relates to statuses or experiences, but just making sure that they have the support necessary as they are providing advice, sometimes of a very sensitive nature, whether, again, it's related to immigration or, some of the others that we've been dealing with, just a consideration in terms of making sure they're connected from an organizational standpoint. With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And Zach, just on the community inclusion manager position, so you're budgeting, the position, and I imagine that it would take some time to hire the person and for them to kind of start to do their fact-finding and discussions with stakeholder groups. Do you envision in mid-year more programmatic support for this office? Because I'd hate to create a position and then just have them exist without sort of any ability to kind of move some initiatives forward, at least, later this year.
Right. And that would be very likely that, once they get their feet on the ground, get an understanding of what's going on, then come back with, here are some staffing or whatever type of needs to augment what they're looking to do. It's the same process we really did with the chief housing officer, and as well as intergovernmental relations. So a number, we get the person in, they get the lay of the land, and then we figure out how can we bolster them to make sure that they and their program is successful.
Okay. And then just on the food security initiatives for my committee members. So basically what we had talked about is at the very least continuing the mobile food market. Right. However, I think there was the notion of expanding it to a third day that would cover District 1, District 2 area. So we're kind of having the North DeKalb, maybe Beaufort Highway, Pleasantdale Park. I mean, that location could be figured out, but that would cost a little bit more money. And then the posture is to take back over the Fresh on Deck bus. Director Gordon has confirmed it is running, and Larry Jacobs has confirmed it has insurance. So it is able to be driven, and the Rataza would have to secure the driver, of course, but that would be sort of in the package. But is the committee good with, in that $500,000, having the additional day, and then, of course, the kind of taking back over the Fresh on Deck bus? Any questions, comments, concerns? Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, I am in support of expanding the services. I think when we were having that discussion, we also They mentioned how sometimes with having the 3 in one day is not quite enough time. So can we also build in, or maybe not, maybe by mid-year, how can we expand the time? If adding the 3rd day may help solve that, but if we're already adding
Yep.
2 additional on that 3rd day, I just want to make
Yes,
sure
good
there's not that time crunch and people are actually getting the ability to shop, because it sounded like there were some times they were having to cut off so they could move on to the next one. So if we could look at that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, I think the offer remains for Rataza as the Fresh on Deck vendor wants to work with each of the districts to figure out what's the best flow. So I think the answer is yes. And the bus, hopefully, the theory is that because the bus is bigger, they can have more shoppers than the Sprinter van. Because the Sprinter van, you have to like walk into the van, and it's like one person at a time. So they think that they can serve more, but I think all of that is sort of flexible. And so I think what we want to do for each of the district stops is figure out, is that enough time? But you know, the goal though is if we get 3 days in the contract, they'll have some areas to sort of work within those 3 days.
Understood.
Okay. The additional thing that was brought up was including dairy and eggs in the market. So if there's more protein sources, it wasn't that much more in the grand scheme of the whole market. So I think, TJ, you ran some kind of ballpark numbers for 10 months, you know, give or take a month or two when the bus is fully operational, the driver's in place, the certain location. So what was that amount?
I think all in, so including the services that have been provided so far and then the expansion for 10 months, it was 314,000.
Okay, and we said we were going to round it up 315.
Correct. Got that.
Okay, so 315 commissioners, and then
Was that 315 plus the 5?
within the 500.
Within the 5, okay, thank you.
Yep, and then the other portion will be for the study, and then that'll leave some additional programmatic support. But I think, Zach, the study is hopefully going to let us look at a broader picture, so there might be some additional funding coming after the study that would give us more
Absolutely.
details on what other programmatic things we can do.
I would anticipate that once the study is done, we're able to devise a much more comprehensive strategy that would probably incorporate a lot of what Commissioner Johnson was mentioning.
Okay. And commissioners, one second, Commissioner Davis Johnson, I'll recognize you. Just wanted to add in, so Rataza did provide some ballpark estimates for the $10 subsidies. However, just because we're trying to stick within sort of the budget that the CEO's provided, I think what we're looking at doing is if district commissioners would like to put in additional funds for subsidies, that would be sort of an additional layer. I think it was about 112,000 if they sort of did it countywide. So we can kind of prorate that for y'all's district stops. So that'll sort of be an option. If each commissioner would like to add X number of dollars for subsidies, I think that can be done, TJ, right, through an appropriation, and it can be dedicated to the contract with Rataza. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Commissioner Davis Johnson, go right ahead.
Yeah, my question is this, and then I remember asking them some questions about other vendors that do the same thing. And so my question is, if you want to expand it and add proteins and maybe meats, you know, we may give it a more competitive price if we are pushing it beyond what we had originally talked about, because they are relatively new. And there's others that have been doing it for a little bit longer and may could give us better pricing, or at least competitive pricing, when you're talking about extending it further than what we had initially talked about.
Yes, understood. And Zach, in terms of the food insecurity plan, and Commissioner Johnson made a good point that there are existing food pantries and other programs that exist in Metro Atlanta. So I think where we were at was we didn't want the market just to end and it to have kind of a 6-month gap where we're studying this something, what we're going to do. So, in essence, we're continuing the Fresh on Deck program, which, has been in operation for several years in DeKalb. But to Commissioner Davis Johnson's point, let's look at the larger ecosystem and see how we can build a system that sort of supports all the existing players, and maybe there's some cost efficiencies if we scale up certain programs and like she was referencing. Is that fair that the study can really hone in on that?
Absolutely, that's fair. And I think just the opportunity to leverage a lot of the good work that is happening out there, where the county may not need to reinvent the wheel, but just provide appropriate support in various locations. But,
okay. And just Commissioner Davis Johnson, you mentioned getting meats added to the market. So that is sort of similar in line with the subsidies. So if there was a holiday or a special event where you wanted to get a turkey or a chicken, Rataza can estimate what you need and how much it would cost per unit, in essence. And so that could be kind of added into district stops at the commissioner's choosing. So hopefully that's an opportunity for us, for like Easter or Christmas or Thanksgiving, to have just additional options for residents.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then last thing, Zach, on the Arts Council. So, and I know you're still looking at, because we have the resolution that the board passed that, wants the commissioners to have a little bit more sort of input in the Arts Council kind of process. Is the expectation that the Arts Council will sort of be functioning, it'll be hearing project ideas, but the ultimate approval of those projects will come back to the Board of Commissioners? Or are you looking for one allocation?
No. So where there's going to be contracts, because this will essentially be a division within the Parks Department.
Okay.
So the board will have approval of any contracts above $100,000.
Okay. So for commissioners who want to advance art projects, this will be an opportunity for us to propose potential things. And there's a lot of things you can do under arts. And the expectation is that the Arts Council will receive those recommendations and they will prioritize budget requests to bring back to the board for approval.
Right, so they will prioritize, they will come up with events and activities.
Okay.
And where there is a contract to do something, concerts, that would need board approval. And
Okay.
so if your question is, how will the board have input into that? We'll have to, figure out what does that mechanism look like.
Okay.
But ultimately, it would go through the process, as does any other contracts, really.
Okay.
Coming up through the administration to the board where appropriate for a vote.
Okay. And maybe, and I don't want to like kind of gum the works up, because I know like the Council for the Arts is the CEO's initiative, and there's a lot of big plans there. Would it be possible within that 1 million, if we had in essence sort of just a set aside per commission district, and it would be in conjunction working with the Arts Council, but in other words, we're not kind of all fighting over sort of one big project or two big projects, and at the very least there can be some kind of district related things, and maybe it's 50,000 commissioners per district that would and we can work together on cross districts. That way there's funding for the Arts Council in general, but we know there's some commissioner kind of directed programs and whether they're installations or, like you said, concerts or things like that. So
Here's a thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, when we added in, or proposed adding into the amended budget, $100,000, you'll see down increase per commission district. The thinking was that could be used for arts or any other thing.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we had felt that this would give the board members an opportunity to invest in arts. What you just suggested could be done, I guess, if, if we wanted to, like in human services, we have $350,000 in human services budget, allocated $50,000 each per commission district to do things. So,
Okay.
could we modify this increase, or could we add $50,000 to the arts budget? Same concept as human services? That we could probably do that.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to throw that out there for the commissioners to respond. So committee members, any thoughts? I mean, there's a couple of different options. It's kind of an a la carte menu here. So what's going to be the best for y'all in terms of facilitating art programs and how you'd like to see it run? Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
So I think the question is, do they have the additional $350,000 to add to the arts? But with that, adding that $100,000 already to the commission district, I think if that is a priority of a commissioner, then they can easily use that money towards the arts program. So I'm comfortable with either option.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Longspears.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. So I like where you're going with this. I think it's a good idea. We certainly don't want to in any way instigate any disagreements among commissioners if they don't feel like they're getting an art installation or something in their district. So figuring out a way where each of us independently can pursue an endeavor or an installation in your own district, I think there's some wisdom in that. My second question to you is, earlier you said that you can use the word things. And so when you propose things, is there a definition of that? Is it only like entertainment, such as a jazz concert? Or would that include an installation, such as a mural? Or could it be a program, like an arts program or a study, like he's got in District 1, like a creative TAD, right? Yeah, or a study. So has that been defined, what that would look like, or could you do that?
And TJ, I think maybe we might be sort of operating in sort of this as an operational and less a CIP, but maybe it could be either, right? Because sometimes a mural would be an installation, but that might take months to actually get going, and it could go into another year. So how would you treat that in terms of budget, operations versus CIP?
I think generally this would be, even though it might be kind of more in the nature of a CIP, it would be handled through the regular operating budget.
Okay. Which probably makes some more sense. All right, thank you.
So I think the answer is and Zach, maybe the Arts Council, and I know it's the 1 million is still to be determined, but it sounds like there's going to be some programmatic things the Arts Council will do this year.
That's correct.
But if there is like an installation that might take past 2026, there's still an option to set aside that money. I think there's still some flexibility there.
Right. And so, we would have to ensure that, but that would in likelihood be a contract.
Right,
They're
through a
going to do,
contract.
and so then the money would stay with the contract.
Okay, which would be a board approval.
That's true.
Okay.
And then just in summary, again, I'm supportive of this. I'm excited about the Council for the Arts and certainly understand that it's new. And so I think, we'll have some learnings along the way about how to best approach projects, installations, programs, initiatives just throughout the county so that there is equity and everyone feels like their district is getting the attention of the Arts Council that I'm sure all of us would like. I yield back. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, Commissioner Messiah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And so I know that we've had a number of discussions ahead of the passing of the recent resolution related to the Arts Council and the formation thereof. In my understanding that it was going to be mainly for entertainment and performance arts. And when it comes to visual arts like murals and things like that, that would be erected and the district commissioners' areas, that was still something that would go through the commissioners. So is that something that's changed, or in this initiative, are we speaking about entertainment and performing arts? Are we talking about visuals such as murals and statues? Or I just want to make sure we have a clear delineation, since we've had a number of discussions related to it.
Yeah, I think the function would be all of the above, performative as well as visual.
Okay.
And the going through commissioners, I don't know that that's something we're prepared to commit to, but it would be logical, obviously, to have some level of coordination.
Well, some level of coordination versus engagement and involvement. And so, particularly as we have like the South DeKalb Hub, and we have monies, there's $25, million related to that. What I don't want is, to not have the level of input. We have, for instance, Candler and the public on Candler, and we have art that's supposed to go there as well. And so I hear you saying that similar to any other contract, that if it's $100,000 and above, then there would need to be the approval of the Board of Commissioners as a whole, and not necessarily anything under that would the administration come to the Board of Commissioners. But what I don't want either is the commissioners, and just to be frank, with all the development and what's going on in my district, not have the capacity to have an input as to the art that's going in. I love the idea, specifically as we have Porter Sanford Performing Arts Center, and looking at the character of what can be supported and building on, what we have in District 3. So the idea of doing some more performance and entertainment arts, fantastic. What I don't want to do is lose the capacity or just be an afterthought in terms of any art being erected in the district.
Understood.
Okay.
All right, with that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Johnson.
I had a question, but it's not on Arts Council.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. For the voter education and outreach, that increase of $1 million, do we think we'll also need an increase of security on around election time?
Let me circle back with the VRE director. If that's the case, we would certainly come to the board.
Okay.
I've not had that conversation with her, but it's a point well taken.
And I think it's also to make sure that our residents are feeling comfortable
Right.
going to vote, because it's
Right.
very important that we encourage that as well.
Great point.
All right, thank you. I yield.
Yep, great, absolutely. And we're going to have several elections, so if we get
Right.
past this primary and runoff, and then for the general, it might be additional discussions at mid-year, or just as we get closer to that election, when we have a greater understanding of the terrain. Commissioner Messiah.
And just a quick point to that, there are a lot of constituents that were reaching out, talking about security and their concerns about security in and around their opportunity to vote, and wanting to know what different they may need to do when it comes to preparing to vote, opposed to, I know there's been some efforts in terms of how to become a candidate. And so the feedback that I've got is they care less about how to become a candidate as much as they want to be able to exercise their right vote without being impeded. So that's just as an FYI and a little bit of feedback there. With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Yes, go right ahead, Commissioner Davis Johnson.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I plan to have the Keisha Smith, the Director of Voting Elections, to come to us so that she can give a briefing and give us some understanding as to the campaign that they may have to voting, because I think that one of the focuses that we would have on voting is early voting, rather than having people come the day of voting. And of course, they have that right. But I would also like to see encouraged to vote early, so we will have that presentation.
Completely full flight today. Our state of we cannot check any of those larger lower decks. You have a secondary item.
She's on the phone.
Oh. Okay, we lost you there for a second. Commissioner Davis Johnson, you still there? Okay, just flag.
I'm sorry, I'm on the plane.
Oh, understood.
I'm saying that I will have Keisha come to.
Okay, gotcha.
To give a marketing plan, because the better focus would be to have people vote early than
Yes.
wait till election day.
Yes.
And I'm sure that they have a plan for that. And so I will have her to come and present in ops as soon as possible.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. All right, thank you for that. Okay, and Clerk DeBerry has to go to the Capitol in a few minutes, so why don't we bring her back up? Because I think we. Okay, and then District Attorney Boston is here also. Yes, I'll have a call you up next. Yes, Clerk DeBerry. Yep, you got some more information for us?
Yes, the exact number, as exact as we can be today, is $13,196,630.
And that's your estimated county revenue?
Well, that was last year.
Oh, that was last year.
This is just the county portion.
Okay, for 2025?
Correct.
Okay, and then your 2026 estimate is 12.6 million.
It is, and that, again, that's extremely conservative. And if any of them, I mean, it's probably going to be more. And if the millage rate changes, if it goes up, it will change that number.
It will?
Yes.
How is that?
Because of the intangible and transfer taxes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So your projections for 2026 might go up potentially.
Well, they may go, I believe they're going to go up anyway, but with an increase in the millage rate, they definitely will go up.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just to reiterate, the 304,000, that is what you need in your budget
For the entire year.
for the entire year.
Correct.
But you did have a revenue source through March.
Well, yes.
So do we need to budget 304, or is there a?
We do, because we took it out of our operating budget already for January and February.
Gotcha. Okay. And it's for the positions. What positions were they again?
For divisions 11 and 12, the additional judicial divisions that were created out of the grant.
Gotcha. Okay.
And these were grant positions.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, no other questions. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
I just since I'm here and you were talking about homeless, I just wanted to say that we are still getting homeless people in our office. They come in to freshen up.
The courthouse?
Yeah, in the bathrooms. And they'll sit there, cool off in the summer, warm up in the winter, bring in their bags. It is a real problem. It hasn't really bothered us that much. You know, some other citizens may say, I think they're just loitering, but if they're not bothering anybody, we just
understand. Okay.
They're not spending the night.
Right.
So
Understood. Okay. And Zach, the day shelter
Right, and that's
strategies.
why we're excited that before the board, as we speak, is a contract to do a day center on Covington at Peace
excellent.
Baptist site. So
Excellent.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna keep working on that.
And then on the elections, and I know Terry left, but for election days, you know, we have coordinated with the chief judge, the elections, and all the precincts and our staff and office. We're legally to be on duty until 10 o'clock, but we're there until the polls close. But we have a system worked out so that any contest, if we have to change precinct hours because of irregularities, that happens almost immediately.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Thank you. All right. TG, did you have a chance to look at any of those projections? I mean, what's our delta here between the 304,000? and the estimated revenues?
Yeah, so the revenues that we have budgeted are rather close to what was projected for last year. It's about 11.5 million. So typically what we'll do, though, is when we get to the mid-year, when we're setting the millage rates, but that's also when we'll adjust the revenues. So we could look at, I guess if we're trying, are you asking about offsetting that amount?
Yep.
We could take that into consideration.
Okay, so you might increase the revenue projections.
We could certainly look at
And-
that. I don't know that we can commit right now, but.
But we'd like to, if we can take everything that comes out of this discussion, and then we'll
Okay,
go see what we can come up with in
okay,
20 hours or so.
okay. Okay, got it. Okay, all right. Thanks, Madam Clerk. Appreciate it. Madam DA, do you have a time limit? Okay.
I also have to be at the Capitol.
Oh, okay. All right, come on down. District Attorney Sherry Boston, welcome. And Zach, did you want to just go over what you have on the District Attorney budget line item?
Right, so-
as of now?
Yes, after our conversation last week, and this is all in light of our budget, you will see that we tried to fund throughout, the request, those most critical items. So we did see in the DA's office that there was a position, a human trafficking investigator, and that's a position that we believe that is currently on staff. So we're supporting, recommending supporting, continuing that position because there's a person in that position.
Okay.
There were additional requests for a number of other positions and such that we, just in the interest of funds, we're not recommending.
Okay. All right, Madam DA,
Yes.
welcome. Go right ahead.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you fitting me in so I can get down to the Capitol for hearings this afternoon. So I spoke with COO Williams. Just to recap where we were, as you know, in our original budget request, we had enhancements that we outlined in our budget that totaled a little over $2 million. But when I came before FAB a couple of weeks ago, I had brought you a reduced request. And that request I had culled down to what we thought was the most critical. And that I'd called that down to about $1.2 million for 13 positions before it was at 20 positions. Having understood where we are financially and having continued conversations with Zach, what I am coming to you today is an even more scaled down proposal of things that are crucial. I appreciate the fact that we have already isolated out that grant-funded position, which was for our investigator who is doing exclusively the work around human trafficking as well as ICAC crimes, which are internet crimes. And he supports and is the liaison for DeKalb County with the GBI, as well as the FBI. And of course, as we know, we're going to be doing a lot of operations, confidential operations, as we are having visitors and tourists coming into our community for FIFA. So it continues to be incredibly important because we know these large, major sporting events bring more intense human trafficking. So I appreciate the administration already carving that out. So set that aside, and what we're left with today, and what I'm asking this committee to consider is I have reduced that $1.2 million down to approximately $380,836, if that makes sense, if I'm saying that right. Okay. Which would be for 5 positions. 2 would be in operations, which I explained at our last meeting. We are sorely, sorely hurting when it comes to the operations of our office. We have over 300 employees, 5 locations, and we are responsible for physical, digital, and a various amount of evidence for 10,000 criminal felony cases, as well as an additional 6,000 juvenile court cases. And our operations department is mighty and small, but they are churning and burning out at both ends. We really don't have enough people. So 2 operations positions. I am reducing my ask, which originally for our digital forensics unit, which I told you is also supporting DKPD, our DKSO, as well as our other law enforcement agencies locally, and as well as the GBI. We needed 5 positions we asked for. I'm reducing that just to 1. Not that we don't need those other positions, it's just that if I get 1 additional person, that's a little bit more work, and we can chip away at what the needs are. And hopefully, in the future, we can talk about making sure that unit is fully staffed. 1 HR position to help to my right, someone you see all the time with me, that is Lou Sanchez, my Director of HR Finance, Budget and Grants. Hear all of those words. She is responsible for all of those things, and she has a very small team. And remember, we interface not just with county, we have state, federal funding, and all the things and positions. So the work that we're doing is not just with the county, we have to interface with all of those other agencies. And we are in desperate need of giving her another person on her team. And then finally, we talked at the meeting about the receptionist issue, that we have currently 1 person supporting all of our walk-ins and phone calls on any given basis. So if she is tied up, people are placed on hold, and the traffic is not sustainable. And I mentioned to you that when I was solicitor, we always had 2 people. The DA's office has only historically had 1, and we are interfacing with the public at over 90,000 contacts a year when you count walk-ins and phone calls. And so we desperately need a second person at the window. So those 4 items, which are 5 positions, 2 positions for operations, 1 for digital forensics, 1's for HR, and 1 for receptionist, would have an increase of $386,000, which I'm asking this committee to consider finding to put into my FY 2026 budget.
Okay, thank you for that detailed breakdown. And then was the 380, is that for a 12-month position?
April 1st, right? We start all of ours April 1st.
April 1st, okay, so it would be for 9 months, 8 months. Okay. Commissioner Johnson, any questions, comments? No. Okay. Commissioner Messiah, nothing?
I mean,
And this is the part of the program where you say that you like the idea? Or
No,
I want to hear some feedback. 'Cause we all
No,
gotta
I
vote
mean,
on
it
this.
is, the feedback is that we need to, and I've been saying this, in terms of the courts needing, support, that we have some challenges in terms of, arguably, folks will complain about the timeliness of things taking place related to the courts, however, or answering phones and getting back to people. However, there just really needs to be more support to be able to execute a higher level of customer service and facilitate more efficiently and effectively throughout our courts as well, and they need the support. So this is where I support giving what's necessary, especially with having to interface our DA on a state level and a federal level, and knowing what we have coming down the pipeline related to the World Cup. Also, it just increases in terms of the level of responsibility and their level of need. So I support it. With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Patrick?
I too support it. I suspect it's going to be a long, hot summer with all the activities going on in the metro area. And so I would be comfortable making sure that your office is staffed as we can afford.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, then Commissioner Davis Johnson.
So I didn't have questions. It wasn't that I didn't support, I just didn't have questions. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
Okay. Commissioner Davis Johnson?
But just like to say that, first of all, I support what she does a fine job with the
clerk, yeah.
revenue that she oversees. And so I would just say that if that request is made, I will support, because I think that she does a fine job with the money that is allocated her.
Okay.
It's needed. But I will say that we system as it is with communications. As far as the court getting back with our constituents and addressing their needs. So I know that the money that was requested is needed, but I want to say that she already does a fine job of communicating with the camp citizens. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. I think that was a support for the clerk and the DAs.
I will accept that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say that all of them do a fantastic job.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner Davis Johnson. District Attorney Boston, do you have an updated handout?
I do.
For that three? Okay, because Commissioner Long-Spears will be back at 12:30. So I just want her.
I brought sufficient copies for everyone.
Okay, so let's, when she gets back, we'll kind of do our committee recommendation. So we'll just have that for her to look at when we come back. So, okay, great. All right, well, I counted 4 votes, so I think we're going to put this in the budget, Zach and TJ.
And I want to make sure Mr. Williams and TJ both get copies as well. I think there should be enough right there. Thank you.
Great. Okay. All right, seeing no other questions for District Attorney Boston, all right, we'll let you go to the Capitol and fight whatever you're fighting down there.
It's not going to
getting
be
hairy
as pleasant as this experience. I
can
can
imagine.
guarantee you that, but I'm
right.
going to bring the fight as usual.
Great. Thank you, Madam DA. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's, all right, so Zach, we left off, okay, I think we covered everything out of the last little bucket. So let's go down to public safety and workforce investments.
Under public safety and workforce investments, there's 2 things that we're excited about everything, but in this area, there's 2 key things that we're excited about. And one we will lead with is addressing issues for recruitment and retention in fire services.
Okay.
And so what we're going to be proposing, and I think we articulated in greater detail elsewhere, but the long and short is we'll be
Yes, page 4 has a little more details.
offering a salary adjustment for fire rescue staff, prorated for 10 months. That's a total of $3.2 million from the fire fund. And what that is going to do is raise the salaries of key fire personnel, not only at the recruitment level, and those who've been here, Chief Fulham
and Chief Carter's here as well.
Carter, help me.
Come on up.
The
because
time.
I'd love to hear from you directly.
Is like 20% for certain employees. I don't want to misstate in case they're listening. But you see the housing allowance we talk about, the $600,000 allocating that, paying for the medical insurance, the fire annuity, each of those things are what we've done for the police department. But hone in real quick, if you could, on the salary adjustments that we talked about, because that's going to retain those firefighters who leave us at critical times in their career.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, Chief Carter.
All right. So what we've talked about was what we trying to address is that we have a problem where we bring our firefighters on. Obviously, the recruitment process is about a 10-month process just to go from recruit to firefighter. We typically start to lose them right around various ranks of firefighters. So you have firefighter, senior firefighter, master firefighter. So between that senior and master firefighter, when they're really starting to gain their worth, as far as their credentialing to be able to drive apparatus and just getting the experience to start to add the process, they're starting to get siphoned off by other departments, because what they've done is they realize as well that we have great training, they've got great experience over the last 3 to 4 years, and then they're moving on to go get greater salaries. So with the work that's been done by HR, TJ, COO, I think that we have something that will address this issue where we can then start to retain these firefighters. We're doing a great job of recruiting. The recruiting team's doing a really great job of getting people in. But again, what we're doing is kind of spinning our wheels, because we're losing them at a very critical rate when they're when they should be starting to progress to more tested ranks. So that's what it's addressing.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chief. Anything else to add to that?
No.
No? Okay.
And can I Go on, please.
Yes, let's stay on the fire piece for a minute. So, Mr. Johnson, any questions, comments?
Yes, I do have a question. Good afternoon, good to see you again.
All right.
I did get emails from one of the fire unions, and they're about how we can increase retention for our fire department. Have they been made aware of these? Have they weighed in on them? I'd like to know if this seems robust to me, but I would like to know if we've had a conversation with them as well.
Not with the union, no, ma'am, we have not.
But tomorrow afternoon.
They'll know.
They
Right,
will know.
right. Well, and then we will, as we've done with police and others, we'll make sure that there's face-to-face conversation, that people understand that, that the governing authority sees that this is a critical function of DeKalb County, and we're going to do all that we can to retain our firefighters.
Yes, and when Director Fulham was Chief Fulham last year, we did have a conversation one-on-one about this. So I'm happy to see that the administration has taken this to heart. I think it's very important for us to increase that retention for our fire department as the same way that we're doing that for our police department. All of our first responders, once we're putting those investment dollars in that training, we want to, we want to keep them. We want them here. So I think this is really robust and a good plan forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, questions, Commissioner Messiah?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And just briefly, I know that when Chief Fulham was at the helm, we needed some additional fire trucks. And so do we still have that need? I'm seeing you. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, I see the shaking in the head. Either one of you.
Well, I'll speak to my time in the position. So as far as the fire trucks are concerned, the county's done an outstanding job, really, in keeping pace with the replacement. I was just talking to Chief Carter. I believe it's somewhere, how many are those? 12 trucks are going to possibly be delivered this year. Now, those were trucks that were purchased and that the board approved approximately 2.5 years ago. And you have heard me talk about this, the pace of building fire trucks these days, it's likened to building an aircraft carrier. It takes anywhere from 3, in some cases longer, years to get them in. So once again, 12 of those trucks that the board approved several years ago are due to be delivered this year. And there's several other trucks. Chief Carter can speak to the other trucks that are already in production.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so in addition to those 12 engines, we also have 2 aerials that we'll probably be receiving those in the next 2 months. They are completely built. They're just being outfitted with equipment as well. So as Director Fulham stated, the work we've done with Fleet to stay on top of getting these trucks, the biggest hurdle that we have is the build-out time. So but we're doing great.
And so thank you for that. And to that point, again, this is an example of, the dollars that our constituents spend to allow the delegation to travel and get additional education. But while at NACO, did discover that there is, at this point, a litigation that's going on. And I see the both of you shaking your heads, so you're fully aware of it. Fantastic, because we'll have opportunities, of course, to, be able to reduce costs for our constituents, and where there may be some challenges with the costs unnecessarily. If it's an opportunity for us to be able to recoup it on behalf of our constituents, all the better. But essentially what had happened, or alleged to have happened, and what's in litigation now, is the claims that there are several manufacturers that intentionally delayed the timing in terms of the production of trucks in order to increase the demand, in order to increase the costs. And so there are several counties throughout the nation itself dealing with that exact issue. So since you have a familiarity, it seems like we've looked into whether or not we're purchasing vehicles from that manufacturer.
So I'm not familiar with the exact manufacturers that are being named in the lawsuit. But when it comes to manufacturers, they're not there. There is a limited amount of manufacturers. So that build, quality trucks. We do look to get some of the, get quality equipment.
Right.
And so as far as the litigation and those that have been named and with those allegations, I'm not familiar with that. But I will say that the build-out times from what was normal, they have drastically gone up.
Okay, fantastic. So they're increasing. And we'll follow up offline on, those other concerns. But thank you so much for being aware of it, staying on top of it. And I'm glad to hear that we're making sure there's sufficient vehicles for our firefighters on the road. With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe County Attorney Phillips can look into that law litigation. I don't know if it applies to us, but I did not go to that meeting, so I'm glad you did, Commissioner Messiah. We split into different committees. All right, Commissioner Patrick, anything?
Nothing beyond just I support anything you guys need for your organization to continue to be successful, staffing or equipment-wise.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Is Commissioner Davis Johnson still with us?
She is. She doesn't have her hand raised.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Zach,
Yes, so
keep going down the
under
the
workforce,
section.
yes, under workforce investments, in addition to the investments in our firefighters, we are also looking to invest in our employees who are paid the least, quite frankly. And so we will be increasing our living wage or minimum wage for county employees to $19 per hour. I think the current is about $17.68. So we will be giving those employees at the lowest end of the pay scale, $1.38 or $1.30 raise. So that's something we're excited about.
Okay. And can you just briefly outline what are the main departments being
I
impacted
think
by that?
going to be sanitation, parks, libraries, some in watershed. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so really a lot of frontline workers.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the kind of entry level.
These are the
library.
front-facing workers who interface with the public, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Great, awesome. That's really great to hear, and thank you for that.
Commissioner Johnson had her.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
Question related to this, but I don't see it. Is there a COLA increase budgeted?
At this point, we have not baked in a cost of living.
Okay.
That's something we'll look at maybe towards mid-year, but the funds simply aren't there.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay.
So I will continue on, propose amendments by department. We've talked about the creation of the community inclusion manager. So we've covered that. The transfer, and this isn't not a new cost. Some of this is just organizational, but cost center for the communications budget, removing that out of the CEO's office, creating its own budget. And we're looking to establish a standalone business unit that incorporates communications assets from throughout the county, much more of a centralized business unit. We feel that will give us a better ability to communicate effectively, to have a uniformity of message, to ensure that information that needs to be getting out is getting out more quickly. Next is Board of Commissioners. We talked a little bit about that earlier, the increase of the individual district budgets by $100,000. The intent of that is for whether it's arts or any other initiatives that the board members would like to invest in. You're able to do that with an additional $100,000, and I think that breeds the allocation up to $400,000. That's correct. It's $400,000 discretionary fund for each commissioner. Commission security, we added that in, and that's really a result of a change that was made this past year, where we found many instances we just don't have law enforcement or on-duty personnel to work at different events. So we've asked commissioners to hire off-duty officers, and so this gives them some funds to make that happen.
Okay.
In the law department, creation of a senior consultant position to act as legal office manager. And this is simply to assist the law department in oversight and management of the myriad of functions and cases and such. So that'll be of great help to the law department. We talked about the court dog coordinator earlier, so that's just identifying that position.
Okay.
And so now we're just going through each department. The communications, we talked about the transfer and to create this business unit, and the $525,000 that has historically been in non-departmental, but has always been spent in DCTV. operation.
Okay.
GIS, this almost $600,000. This is contractual obligations that they've had, and we're not sure if it just wasn't included in the original budget.
Okay.
But this is for ongoing software support.
Okay.
Libraries.
And we did talk about checking who's using the software licenses.
Right, well, and that's something
that we're not
that-
paying for
Absolutely.
ones that aren't being
Well,
used,
and what we're
right?
going to be doing that, the IT
Okay.
director will be doing that sort of thing throughout the county. Libraries landscape transition plan, that's something that we've talked about in the past. The board approved the
Yes.
transition plan, so we're just funding that. Wellness coordinator, and it's something I'm particularly proud of because we created this with Michelle Waldorf originally, and she's done an outstanding job, and this is just adding assistance to continue to promote a healthy workplace. So that's what that's about. The zero premium health insurance for firefighters, this is part of what we just talked about. This is something that we feel that the firefighters will help attract folks because they're not going to be paying their premium for health insurance, much like we're doing with police. It's the same thing. The AT&T Carbine contract, that is supporting the 911 operation. I think that's something that was simply missed in their original submittal. We talked about voter registration and outreach. The sheriff's office, what we've done is took a look at her request, and these are what we are prepared to support. The weapons, of course, and we believe that we need to support their having weapons in these contracts. We think these are active contracts that simply need additional funding on them, so that's why we're proposing each of those. The in-house maintenance and repairs for juvenile court, we did not have future or additional conversations, but our thinking was it is a relatively low dollar, and if this is something that they feel gets them to address issues more quickly, that's something that we have no issue with supporting.
Okay.
And then the Superior Court senior judges, remind me, what was the 15? I'm drawing a.
I think they were requesting $254,000 for software, and it says $122,000. So is there an opportunity to get them started and to check
Right,
back in
and I
at
believe
mid-year?
that was a hardware and software request, and the software of 122, and what we're looking to do is fund hardware replacement through our IT department.
I see.
I think that's what we're.
Okay, so you think
there.
that there will be that will be there, just be through the IT department?
Right, or they'll be able to, right, and IT will prioritize a lot of those requests. So, it may be that people have an ask, but there needs to be an assessment as to when it could be replaced.
Okay. And Zach, I'm going to have you go through all of them, and then we'll open it up because we had a hard stop at 1. So
Okay, I'm sorry.
just keep on going.
Project Pinnacle, we've discussed that in the past. This is something the board has funded historically. Recidivism reduction program. Again, in state court, you see the thing with software. We're supporting the purchase of software, but the same would hold true for any hardware requests. The additions to the fleet, the marshal's office and the probation office did a great job articulating what their need was, and what we were proposing is replacing those pool vehicles. This will put those vehicles on the vehicle replacement plan in the future.
Okay.
So that the funding will be there. So that's what we've done for each of them.
Okay.
Solicitor, the quality of life unit, I think we had extensive discussion there, and we're recommending the $227,000.
Okay.
The DA, we'll maybe come back to that. This is what we were supporting. We've had additional conversation here today, and we can revisit that. Lifeline contract we talked about. The 3 positions in the public defender. Those are things that we were going on and supporting based on the case that was made here. The court dog coordinator we've talked about. The interfaith community immersion program is a program that's been ongoing in the police department. That's something that we're supportive of. Court, and again, software with magistrate court.
Okay.
Fire, we've talked about. Planning and sustainability, an additional arborist position. That's something that's a kind of a demand that we often face out in the community, and more need for arborists. So we're supporting adding a position, and we just need to get and keep them filled. Creation of engineering position, specializing bike pedestrian infrastructure. adding that to transportation. That is, again, just in support of various methods of transportation, helping us make our communities more walkable and bikeable. Economic development, the chamber is something we've done on an annual basis, and this land value review analysis, both of those kind of support the economic development effort.
Okay.
The beautification, this was a miscommunication type thing in terms of the landscape contract. So the funding, we're just putting back funding that should have been the original budget. The Meadow Partnership, that's a small dollar, but that's for flowers, make the place look pretty.
Yes.
Housing bonds, we talked about the housing investments. Human services, a replacement of a passenger van with a wheelchair lift van for Central DeKalb. That's simply, interesting enough, they have a vehicle that doesn't have appropriate ADA compliance. Well, I'm not going to say appropriate ADA, it just doesn't have a wheelchair lift, so we're going to make sure that they get one. Soccer in the Streets, it's an ongoing program. And then we've talked about each of these other in non-departmental. This is just where the money would be housed.
Okay.
But we've discussed those.
Okay.
I
And
think
then you
we've
get the
covered everything else, so.
Okay. All right. So commissioners, these are all the sort of the individual department amendments. So let's open up to committee members. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I just have two questions. One clarification. For Mosaic, should that also be in the non-departmental? I don't see that one listed.
I think it's already there.
Correct. So it was in the initial budget.
It was in the initial budget, so this is just the increases.
Correct.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
And then outside of this, when would we get the CIP list? I know that's ongoing.
Right. So, TJ?
Right. So the goal with the CIP list is to have the recommendation by probably this summer.
This summer.
When we're probably having the mid-year discussions.
Understood, thank you.
Right. And just a quick point, while we're waiting for that, though, there will be, as a matter of fact, I anticipate this next agenda to have a number of SPLOST capital items that will be coming for health centers and police stations, stuff like that. So
Yeah,
we're
'cause-
still going to be moving on fixing things while we develop this CIP.
Right, and I think some of the commissioner requests were more put in the CIP
That's
list.
correct.
So like completing Dunn Air Park for one in District 4. So just curious to see where that's going to land and when we'll get that information. I yield, thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Long-Spears?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I do have some questions. The first question relates to the facilities, library's landscape transition plan of $383,000. Apologies, I had to step out briefly for another meeting. Is that the library landscape transition plan for all of the libraries in our system, or two per district?
It's the phase one. So
Which is the planning,
It was the first, like 7
community
libraries.
input, planning, that type of thing?
No, it's actually to do the landscapes.
Oh, actually, oh, good.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I think when we passed the resolution, the first phase, every district was covered.
Okay, but
So
was
every
it
district will
two branches per district? Is that right?
Well, I mean, the whole plan is for all the libraries.
Okay.
But it was broken into phases. So, Zach, this is the first phase of the first 7 libraries, if I'm not mistaken. So
Okay.
we can verify that, though, from Rodney.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So which library is in District 2? Is it Decatur or Toco, or?
I think it's Toco.
Okay.
Yeah, but Rodney
right.
has the actual.
Yeah, just if you'll send the list of the 7 libraries included in Phase 1, that would be fantastic. The next question is the Wellness Coordinator Support Internship Program. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that Michelle Waldorf has done an excellent job with evolving our wellness program and getting staff excited about it. So that's wonderful. So I guess you are requesting for her to have a coordinator. Is that right? An actual person
It'd be
to
staff
help
for
her.
Yeah, these are staff for her.
Wonderful. I know she would be so excited. And then the internship program. So is $100,000 enough to, A, support a coordinator, and 2, to lift up an internship program?
I think that was her. So her initial request was for $100,000. So
she'll have to figure it out.
We could
is what
ask
you're
her maybe
saying?
to give us more details, but I think it was just let's start there and see how far we
Okay.
can get. But the key point, Commissioner Long-Spears, was to give additional capacity so that there can be more programming across all the different sites that she goes to, because she does go to every sort of county facility. I think it's at this point like 7 different locations throughout the month. So it's to provide more support there in general.
Understood. Thank you. My next comment and question relates to Superior Court. My understanding is that the original request was for $254,000 for software and equipment because they have these technical issues in the middle of trial, and they're not able to stop, wait for, do an IT ticket, have someone come over. And so I'm wondering if the board would reconsider including the full $254,000 into their request
And I think
from the Superior Court.
CO, you were saying that the IT department and their budget would pick up
Our
the gap
intent is
there.
to fund hardware in the IT department, but to Commissioner Long-Spears' point, I'm not prepared to say that every one of these requests there'd be sufficient funding. You know what I mean? So IT is going to have to prioritize and assess the state of repair of the hardware before determining a replacement. So if the board was interested in ensuring that this software or this hardware was replaced, I would encourage us to, we can go back and take a look at the entire request and maybe call out what is crucial hardware. I mean, that's a way of guaranteeing it as opposed to, when can IT evaluate, fund it, so.
So the current hardware that's included in the budget is for $155,000, and then the amendment includes the court-related software of $122,000. That's correct?
That's right.
Okay, all right. I will do a little more homework into that and may have more comment or feedback on that tomorrow. My next question goes to the Interfaith Community Immersion Program of $75,000. So that's you stated that's been an ongoing program, so that's an additional $75,000?
Yeah, Chief Pedrick has participated in
Hello,
that over
Chief.
the years. I don't think it's actually been done in maybe 2 years. So I think the idea was to bring
okay.
it back because when we were talking about the sort of the liaison positions, that was one thing that Chief Pedrick had highlighted as the police are actually out going with the interfaith community and all the different religious organizations and leaders. And I believe the programming funding was to do at least 2 separate immersion weekends, as they call it, like 3 days, I think is sort of the average, which commissioners are encouraged to participate in.
Oh.
It's meant to be kind of a
Okay.
community leaders
Nice.
with police and public safety. But do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, sir.
Chief?
I mean, it was a great program.
Oh, sorry. I realized I was
Thank you.
hogging that. I apologize.
Yes, it was a great program. I did probably 10 years ago as the precinct commander in Tucker. We had the Clarkson area, and it was brought to my attention. I did it by myself. It was very eye-opening. I mean, it was with many different faith-based, but you visit with the mosques, the Sikh temples, all of the different faith-based organizations. You dine with them. You spend days with them, basically sharing information. There's different work groups. So it was an amazing experience to everybody understand and have that cultural awareness in all of our diverse communities. So I fully support it. It was a great program. I've got great friends even today that I developed through that reach out to me directly still today. So it's something that I think is amazing for any officer or any community member that wants to learn more and have that partnership with those communities.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. It sounds like an amazing program, and please let me know how the District 2 office can support. And,
Yes, ma'am.
we'd certainly love to engage in any way that we are able. All right, moving on to, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to fire, and TJ, I've definitely sent a series of emails to you, and I know that you were working diligently on this. Could you talk through, and I realize we're running long, but just briefly, what the compensation package will look like for our fire rescue personnel? I see that you've got, like the buckets, if you will, of salary adjustments and pay incentives for education, training, certifications of $500,000. But how will each fire rescue employee benefit from what you've proposed? Oh, hello. How you doing?
Director Haynes, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, got it. Good afternoon. HR working with fire conducted a salary survey to ensure that our salaries were competitive. We are pretty competitive at the entry-level rate, but we want to be the leader. So based on the salary survey, we are recommending to move our entry-level pay from $53,040 to $55,000. And we will be leading Gwinnett County, City of South Fulton, Cobb, and also Gwinnett. We also looked at our other ranks: firefighter, firefighter senior, master, operator, and captain. And we also looked at our the ranks that we were having people leave. People were normally leaving between year 3 and year 9. So based on that, we suggested providing a pretty decent bump when the firefighters get to captain. That's where people were starting to leave. So we're suggesting a 20% increase for our captains, and that will bring us really close to market with the 20%. So moving captain to 20% is going to cause some compression. So in order to alleviate the compression, we're going to move the ranks above that by 10%.
All right. Thank you for that. What might be helpful is I can just forward you the request I have been sending to TJ, and thank you for working on it, so that you could provide me the individual impacts that this additional funding will have. And if you need to line item by rank and include a rationale or budget detail, that's fine as well. So the housing allowance, it looks like there's $600,000 from the fire fund plus $48,000 from general fund, so I'm assuming that would equal $648,000 for the housing allowance. What is that housing allowance?
So currently, we're mirroring the strategy with police. It'll be $500 a month if they live in the cab. Okay. We have around 100 firefighters that live in the cab.
Is it rent or own?
Yes, if they live in live in the cab. $500 a month.
Awesome.
Same model as police.
Okay, thank you so much. And I won't ask any more questions. I'll just shoot you an email. I know we're limited on time. The additional arborist position, that takes us to how many arborists?
I believe 3, but it might be 4. We'll verify.
3 or 4? Okay, would you shoot me that?
It's at least 3, but.
Okay, all right, great. And then you confirmed under Economic Development and Leadership DeKalb, $100,000 is already woven into the budget. Director Ferguson responded to my questions on housing. The soccer in the streets, the $50,000, what is that for exactly? A party?
I think that was related to the World Cup activities.
Sure.
They wanted to do some.
But I mean, is it a festive party event kind of thing?
I think it's going to be the sports commission that's going to determine sort of what activities we're doing. So Soccer in the Streets would just do something with the youth.
Okay,
as part
understood.
of that programming.
Thank you for including the replacement passenger van for Central DeKalb Senior Center. They will be super duper excited about that. Also, thank you for including MedCura. That was something I had recommended. And that exhausts my questions. Thank you kindly. I yield back.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, commissioners, any other additional questions, comments? Yes, Commissioner Messiah.
Thank you so much. One, I want to know, presently, do our sanitation workers that are in the back of the trucks, do they receive hazard pay presently?
No, they do not.
They don't. All right. Do we know how much the cost is for hazard pay per individual, like for our officers or our firemen per person?
Commissioner, if I could take a look at what is meant by hazard pay.
Okay.
You know, 'cause right, because I think there's going to be a very specific definition, and I don't know that we characterize that in anyone's pay as hazard pay.
Hazard duty pay. All right. So we can look at that specifically because that's something that I'm going to be interested in looking at, just some of the dangers, and particularly what we dealt with most recently in a situation, some litigation. So that's something I'm going to want to look at. Also, under, and I thought I would see it either under non-departmental or the Board of Commissioners, the Deputy Chief of Staff and Support Staff budget. And so that's something I guess we've got to, because we will be hiring a new Chief of Staff that's slated to start relatively soon. So that's something that's been an agenda item.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to look at making sure we have.
And I think just for the board's purposes, I mean, if we want to come back and amend our budget based on those staffing requirements, we can do that anytime, right?
Yes,
What we're
because
talking
I
about
don't believe that we've seen that request. That's
Okay. And so the other thing is related to legal support. And so legal attorney for the Board of Commissioners or Legislative Counsel. I did not see that under Board of Commissioners or under the non-departmental. And so, and that was supposed to be included in the budget. So where are we with including that?
right. So I would offer the same. Thus far, we have not received that as a request. I know that the board is contemplating those things. So if and when that is approved, then we would simply go pull the money from reserves, I would suppose.
Actually, that was something that was withdrawn under the pretense that it was going to be included as a budget item.
And we probably don't have time to talk about it in too much detail, but Madam Presiding Officer, I think when we have our Chief of Staff on board and we maybe kind of get to our retreat, maybe that's an opportunity for us to kind of look at the big picture. There's too many unknowns right now, so I think that's why you didn't get an official request, Zach, because we just haven't gotten there yet. So stay tuned. But Madam Presiding Officer?
Yes, that was part of the conversation with the hiring of the new Chief of Staff, was to allow them to get in and establish how they would like to see the department function, and then we would bring forward any additional positions that they are requesting at that time. It was my understanding of the conversation.
And so respectfully, and I appreciate that, but as the Board of Commissioners, we have to also make very clear the support staff that we need to be able to execute at our maximum capacity. And so I would not expect that a Chief of Staff would dictate essentially whether or not we have legal counsel and support related to that. Additionally, we would not want our legal counsel to answer to the Chief of Staff because we might create some challenges with client attorney privilege, but I will ensure that we push I'll push on that just to make sure that we included it in the budget as it was was to be communicated. The other, in terms of communications, I'm seeing the 525 from non-departmental DCTV cost center. And so is there going to be a shift in terms of communications as it relates to how it is organized now to where the Board of Commissioners has direct access? Like, how is that expected to be structured now?
TJ, this is just sort of moving the cost centers, right? It's not necessarily changing any of the operations. It's just a different funding bucket. Is that right, Zach?
Yes, that's correct. And to answer your question directly, Commissioner Messiah, the activity in the budget does not change reporting relationships. So, well, does not as it relates to the commission. The Chief Communications Officer will continue to report up through the CEO to the Chief of Staff and the CEO. But there are assets or personnel throughout the county who will report into the Chief Communications Officer.
Okay, and just so I'm understanding, so, and I figured that it wasn't going to change, but I just wanted to understand, as that was an ask, if there was intended to be any structuring or organization whatsoever, just so I can ensure, as we're talking about the support of the Board of Commissioners and additional positions that are being created, that we're having a need to look into ensuring we have direct communications, that we have that as we are fleshing this out. I get that some of this can be addressed later, And I also understand that we are dealing with the budget, and that's in its entirety for the governing body, and we need to consider everything that needs to go into it. With that, I yield back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Messiah. And I think we definitely want to continue the conversation around the points that you raise. So I think let's just continue that at the board level, and hopefully we can come up with a larger strategy that if it requires the budget amendments, we can, certainly talk about it within the FAB committee as well as the committee of the whole. So Commissioner Patrick, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know you mentioned that there'd be a different conversation on SPLOST. Just want to make sure that there was, or you remember that there were some annexations in the Doraville area. SPLOST dollars were allocated for paving and new sidewalks, and we want to get those reallocated
Absolutely.
into
Yep.
other transportation and roads within unincorporated area.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. Okay, so committee members, I think we've exhausted all of our presentations and questions, and we had a couple, I think, proposed amendments. So I captured the $304,000 from the clerk's office, the 300, what was the, for the DA, 380?
DA was 380.
And you have the spreadsheet, so 380 for the DA. 836, and then we wanted to call out 315,000 out of the 500,000 for food security initiatives for Fresh on Deck to continue. And then Zach, y'all.
But that wasn't increasing, that's just
Yeah,
separating it.
yeah, and I think just for budgeting purposes, Zach, we'll just want to put that as a subline item,
Sure.
I guess, if that's the best way to articulate it.
Sure.
And I think that those were the amendments. Were there any others, commissioners, that I missed? Commissioner Long-Spears?
I'm sorry, I just had a quick question. You said 304 for the clerk's office?
Yes.
Where is that in this
Superior Court-
document?
Superior
missed
Court.
that.
Oh, okay, thank you. I missed that piece of it. Okay, I was like, what sure you meant like Miss Barbara's office. Thank you. Okay.
Yes,
yield back.
Superior Court, yes. Okay.
And do we have the 200,000 from the tax commissioner, or is that? No?
I don't see tax commissioner on here.
We'll come back to that.
Do you see that?
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Okay. All right, so commissioners, with those budget amendments in mind, you happy to take a so moved?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all right, motion and second for those budget amendments. Zach, you captured all that?
Yes, so the Superior Court and DA and everything else as written, a sub for the RTAS and the food insecurity, sub that.
Fresh on deck. Okay, great. All right, so motion and second. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. All right, that is the end of our agenda. We will adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.